Chapter 536. A strong whistling sound could be heard. The sound of metal clanging was like a hurricane. What a strong killing intent. Lin Feng narrowed his eyes. Although he was restricted by the wind valley and could not sense it accurately, how could he not feel the killing intent? If it was a sneak attack, he would not be able to do anything. However, such a blatant attack was underestimating him. Over there, Lin Feng retreated quickly and turned around. A strong wind attacked. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. Although the enemy's aura was not strong, it was terrifying to be able to trigger the wind in the wind valley. It was like a spinning top. In order to make it spin faster, the technique and strength required was not ordinary. Bang! The nightmare demon spear was unsheathed. That is, looking at the enemy who was attacking quickly, Lin Feng's eyes widened. Like a ferocious tiger, its striped body was filled with explosive power, as if a ferocious tiger had transformed into its human form. The most shocking thing was that he had 3 heads. Although his face was ferocious, he had the appearance of a human. His body was extremely strong. When he waved his 3 arms, the wind was clear. There were 3 illusory rings of light. A greenish-yellow long tail wrapped around his body and released the wind. Tianwu Shaman Tribe. Lin Feng immediately thought of this name. Among the 5 shaman tribes that lived in the southern region, there was the Tianwu Shaman Tribe. Coupled with the unique appearance of the Tianwu Shaman Tribe, it was very easy to recognize them. Tiger body and human form, 3 heads and 3 tails at the star sea level. Every time they advanced, they would gain 1 head and 1 tail. Innate ability to control wind and have a strong attacking ability. Star sea level 5. Lin Feng did not underestimate them. He knew how powerful the shaman tribe was. He could not give them any chance. The shaman tribe was used to living in groups. In this wind valley, it was very likely that there was more than one Tianwu shaman tribe. Die! Lin Feng's eyes were filled with killing intent. Bang! A rapid explosion sounded. Following the death of the Tianwu shaman tribe, a drop of sparkling blood appeared in front of him. Lin Feng's expression was calm. He grabbed it with his right hand and swallowed it. The blood essence of the shaman tribe. Gulp! Lin Feng swallowed, his eyes shining. Back then, when he had devoured the blood essence of a Zhu Rong Magus, the fiery life star plate had lit up and absorbed it directly. When he had devoured the blood essence of a Gomang Magus, the heart of sorcerer had taken it away. As for the blood essence of the Tianwu clan, Hua, Lin Feng's body felt a violent aura, and he immediately closed his eyes. Dense energy permeated every corner of his body, being absorbed by his cells and skin. Even though the blood essence of the Tianwu shaman tribe was like a bone that was hard to chew, and if a warrior of the same level as him were to absorb it, his meridians would probably be torn apart, and the violent energy would rush into his internal organs and endanger his life. Blood essence also had the consciousness of the shaman tribe. However, Lin Feng's body was special. His physique, which had been strengthened by the phoenix blood, was even stronger than that of the sorcerer tribe. A mere blood essence would only take a little more time. How could he not be able to absorb it? Increase my physique in all aspects. It's a great improvement to the body. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he was pleasantly surprised. This kind of improvement was different from the increase in strength. It was a kind of improvement in basic values. If the increase in strength was compared to the weapon in one's hand, then the increase in basic values was the intrinsic strength of one's body. As one's level increased, the intrinsic strength would be further refined. And this was the greatest advantage of dual cultivation. The energy is quite abundant. It should take a few hours to absorb it. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. His left eyebrow flickered, and a red-green light flashed. Wing's appearance brought about a sense of valiance. Lin Feng said softly, "Oh," but he could deeply feel the increase in Wing's strength. However, there was no time to delve into it. "Wing, help me check," Lin Feng instructed softly, then sat down cross-legged. Instantly, he circulated Emperor Shun's energy, condensing the energy of heaven and earth into energy that rushed into his body. "No problem, boss." Wing replied. 6 hours later. Phew, Lin Feng exhaled lightly and opened his eyes. Pa! Clenching his fist, the corner of Lin Feng's mouth curled up slightly, and a faint smile appeared. Every part of my body is strengthened by about 1%, and my right leg and left arm are strengthened by another point. Lin Feng nodded. His spirit and heroic spirit meridians had been completely connected, so the improvement was naturally more than the other parts of his body. 1% seemed insignificant, but one had to know that this was only the 5th level of the Star Sea realm. What if it was the 6th level, 7th level, or even 8th level? If he killed the 8th level Tian Wu shaman, his essence blood would increase his body's fitness by 10%. How shocking. How is it, Wing? Lin Feng asked slowly. Boss, there are quite a lot of Tian Wu shaman ahead. Wing said seriously. The shaman race respects nature, and their senses are far better than the human race. The infiltration of the winged insect cannot be hidden from them. I did not dare to test it again, but a conservative estimate is that there are about 20 of them. Oh, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He could understand Wing's actions. If he alarmed the Tian Wu shaman race, how could he cultivate so calmly just now? But now it was completely different. Wing, explore with all your might. Lin Feng's eyes were sharp. There was no need to hide anymore. He was not afraid of alerting the Tian Wu shaman race, nor was he afraid of sacrificing the winged insects. What he wanted now was the most accurate information. No problem, boss. Wing did not hesitate at all. Red and green light flickered, and countless winged insects instantly dived into the soil, spreading out with Wing as the center. There was still a large amount of food that had not been digested, and the energy was quite sufficient. Moreover, what was the loss of a few winged insects? It was like plucking a few hairs from one's body. There's a group. Over there. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and the winged insect from all directions instantly sneaked in. However, at the same time, they were instantly torn to pieces by the furious Tian Wu shaman race. However, there were not many of them, and Wing had sent out thousands of winged insects. Although it was undoubtedly a fool's dream to kill the Tian Wu shaman race, it was easy to obtain accurate information. There would always be winged insects that escaped the net after being killed by the Tian Wu shaman race. 20? No, it's 36. It's not a lot, but it's not a little either. The weakest is a 2nd stage Star River, and the strongest is a 7th stage Star Sea. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. He could completely feel the anger of the Tian Wu shaman race, and the entire Wind Valley was trembling. However, he did not care at all. 36 Tian Wu shaman race, and half of them are Star Sea stage. If I can absorb all of their essence blood, I wonder how much my body will improve. Instead of being afraid, Lin Feng was overjoyed. He was full of confidence. If it was before, he would probably have to think of a way out, how to avoid disaster, or even how to escape. But now his strength had greatly improved, and he even had a group attack technique like the 9-Dragon Spear Art. A mere 36 Tian Wu shaman race. No, 18 Star Sea stage Tian Wu shaman race. He had absolute confidence in killing them. I didn't expect Wind Valley to be so interesting. Just nice, I can try out the newly comprehended 9-Dragon Spear Art and see its power. How strong is it? Whoosh! Lin Feng shot out like a sharp arrow. Along with Wing, his figure disappeared in an instant. Lin Feng charged straight into the Tian Wu shaman race. It was the boldness of a skilled person. What was there to fear? The furious roars of the Tian Wu shaman race could be heard. Lin Feng ran at full speed. Even though his speed was limited in this Wind Valley, he was still like a shooting star. One could only see his shadow, but not his body. How big could Wind Valley be? He arrived at the area that Wing sensed in the blink of an eye. It was a familiar scene. Looking from afar, Lin Feng immediately saw the Tian Wu shaman race. The shaman race was used to building tribes in places with dense spiritual energy. It was not a joke. The spiritual energy here was slightly weaker than the chaotic swamp, but it was still quite abundant. Naturally, there were many shaman race members gathered here. Most importantly, this was Wind Valley. To the Tian Wu shaman race, who were naturally fond of the wind, it was like living by the sea. The environment was very comfortable. If I'm not wrong, the reason why the spiritual energy in Rainbow Jade's sect disappeared, it must be related to the Tian Wu shaman race. Lin Feng did not slow down at all. Although he had doubts in his heart, he did not need answers now. He only needed kill. Kill to your heart's content. The fiery red body of a nightmare demon spear was like a soldering iron, hard and sharp. Emperor shuns astral energy. Lin Feng's expression was serious. The first batch of 6 Tian Wu shaman race members had 3 heads and 3 tails. A violent wind attacked together, bringing with it an unpleasant roar. The milky white astral energy instantly condensed. Lin Feng's eyes flickered as he waved the nightmare demon spear in his hand. The tip of the spear shook as Lin Feng shouted, "Go!" Dragon roars sounded as the 9 white flood dragons brought with them a strong gust of wind, instantly suppressing the 6 Tian Wu shaman race members. The strongest was only level 4 Starseed realm, not even as strong as the first Tian Wu shaman race. How could they be a match for Lin Feng? In fact, even the strongest wind power of the Tian Wu shaman race was completely defeated by Lin Feng. This was the true manifestation of strength. Even the shaman race, with their monstrous physiques, could not withstand an attack that far exceeded their body's capacity. 3 Tian Wu shaman race members were instantly killed. The other 3, before their companions arrived, could not withstand Lin Feng's blazing killing intent. The moment he attacked, 6 Tian Wu shaman race members were instantly killed. It was easy. At this moment, the strongest Tian Wu shaman race member came roaring with his subordinates. Level 7 Star Sea Realm. Good timing. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Although he did not understand the shaman race's language, from his expression, he could tell that he was truly angry that he had killed his tribesmen and companions. His speed was not slower than Lin Feng's, and the wind was much stronger than the other Tian Wu shaman race members. He was the patriarch. However, this time, he encountered an inhuman. Secret clone. Lin Feng's eyes were cold. The appearance of another Lin Feng instantly brought about a terrifying condensation of heaven and earth chi. The new deceleration space rapidly spread, accompanied by the spread of black fog, causing the leader of the Tian Wu shaman race to be terrified. He struggled desperately, as if he was trapped in a quagmire. At this moment, Lin Feng was like an Azura descending once again. The slaughter began. It was a bloody massacre. Although Lin Feng's strength was far superior to the Tian Wu shaman race, the other party had the advantage of numbers. Moreover, the shaman race was famous for their monstrous physiques. They fought until the sky turned murky and the earth turned dark. It was extremely exhausting. But the one who had the last laugh was still Lin Feng. In the end, there was only one principle in a battle between experts. Who was stronger? 18 drops. Lin Feng looked at the drops of blood floating in the air before him, and the corners of his mouth curved up slightly. This time, his body would transform again. Chapter 537. They were all wiped out. The Wind Valley was not big to begin with, and Wing soon finished exploring it. Other than the 36 Tian Wu sorcerer tribe members, there were no other threats. 18 drops of essence blood. It's a pity that the quality is not high. Lin Feng felt slightly helpless, but it was better than nothing. 1 drop was at Star Sea level 7, 1 was at Star Sea level 6, and 2 were at Star Sea level 5. The remaining 14 drops of essence blood were of ordinary quality. But it's a blessing, not a curse. Lin Feng smiled. If this Tian Wu sorcerer tribe is stronger, I don't know if I can deal with them. After all, this was the Wind Valley. To the Tian Wu sorcerer tribe, the geographical environment was like adding wings to a tiger. But to him, it was full of restrictions. The secret of the Wind Valley. It won't be too late to explore it after I refine all the essence blood. Lin Feng nodded and closed his eyes. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Huff, huff. Lin Feng's breathing was long and steady. Sitting cross-legged in the Tian Wu sorcerer tribe, Lin Feng refined the essence blood peacefully. Every drop of essence blood was refined and integrated into his body, strengthening his cells, bones, and skin, causing Lin Feng to feel extremely comfortable. The increase in strength would be achieved sooner or later. But the strengthening of the body's foundation could only be encountered and not sought. His entire body felt smooth, and there was a feeling of expansion. Lin Feng opened his eyes in an uproar, and he clenched his fists. 18 drops of essence blood, all refined. Lin Feng straightened up, and his body moved like a phantom. Whoosh! Accompanied by the change of his body, his fists punched out like two sharp winds, and the power of the fist was rustling. It increased by close to 10%. Lin Feng exhaled lightly and stood still. However, Lin Feng's eyes flickered as he fell into deep thought. When I absorbed the first drop of blood essence, it took less than 6 hours to refine it, and my body's strength increased by 1%. But now, I've been refining it for 3 days. In other words, it's been 72 hours. According to normal calculations, my body's strength should have increased by 12%. With the same level of strength, there would not be much of a difference in refining speed. However, the increase in his physical strength was less than 10%. There was only one reason for this. Lin Feng nodded. It seems that refining the blood essence of the Tianwu shaman tribe is not a limitless increase. It's like eating the same immortal fruit. If you eat too many of them, your body will naturally develop resistance, and the effect will weaken. And once it reaches a certain level, it won't even increase by half a point. Lin Feng was enlightened, but he did not think too much about it. At the very least, the blood essence of the Wu Magus clan was a great help. If there's a chance, I'll go and look for the Tianwu shaman tribe. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. Others were afraid of the shaman tribe, but he was never afraid. The Zhurong shaman tribe, the Gomong shaman tribe, and the Tianwu shaman tribe were the 3 shaman tribes that he had met. These 3 types of blood essence were of great help to him. But now, let's solve the problem of the Wind Valley first. Although I don't know the reason for the disappearance of the spiritual energy, we have to solve it. It's not difficult. Lin Feng smiled as a faint light shone in his eyes. With the wings, he would save a lot of effort most of the time. Colored Jade Sect. It's been 3 days, but there's still no news from Brother Lin. Pei Ru frowned slightly. In his opinion, if they entered the Wind Valley, they would succeed. If they failed, they would at most be injured like Grandma. But why was Lin Feng missing now? Maybe there are some changes in the Wind Valley that we don't know about. Grandma's eyes were deep. The wrinkles on her face congealed, and she seemed to be hesitating. It would be a lie to say that she was not worried. She knew very well that this was the best opportunity for the Colored Jade Sect. I hope that everything goes well for Brother Lin, Brother Lin. Pei Ru's expression was solemn. The most important thing is that nothing happens to him. Otherwise, even if the Colored Jade Sect regains its former spiritual energy, I will still feel uneasy. He should be blessed by the heavens. Grandma said softly. While they were talking, Grandma was stunned. What's wrong, Grandma? Pei Ru was surprised. Grandma's eyes flickered and her body trembled slightly. Her lips were dry. Do you feel it? Do you feel it? Grandma's voice trembled and her expression was filled with joy. It was a feeling of suppressed excitement. Pei Ru looked at Grandma and felt a little puzzled. Pei Ru's brows were tightly knitted. Suddenly, his expression changed, and he was unable to contain his joy. Grandma, it's spiritual energy. It's really spiritual energy. Incomparable joy struck Pei Ru's heart, causing his face to be filled with excitement. In an instant, he burst into laughter. That's great. That's really great. Grandma's shriveled face completely relaxed, and her eyes were filled with gratification. Her old eyes looked into the distance, and she felt the violent sound of the wind. The spiritual energy brought by it assaulted her nose. Grandma's trembling body stopped trembling, and her body completely relaxed. 1,000 years of waiting, 1,000 years of perseverance. Today, she had finally fulfilled her dream. Thank you, little fellow. Grandma smiled and closed her eyes. She no longer had any regrets. In the Wind Valley, Lin Feng looked in front of him with satisfaction. This wind valley fell between the various large mountain ranges and formed a unique structure. The surroundings were enveloped by dense fog, and spiritual energy was unable to penetrate it. It was as if one had fallen into a cage. It was actually very simple to make spiritual energy leak out. As long as a passage was made in any mountain range that surrounded the wind valley, spiritual energy would leak out, just like the holes in the chaotic swamp. The best passage was undoubtedly the one that faced the Color Jade sect. It was the place where the wind was the strongest. This way, the spiritual energy could be transmitted to the Color Jade sect to the greatest extent. It was not an easy task to break through a mountain range with human strength. However, Wing could do it easily. Success. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. This passage was just enough to allow one person to enter and exit. It was very similar to a hole. As for himself, he could also leave easily. However, the secret of the Wind Valley has yet to be solved. Since I have entered a treasure mountain, how can I return empty-handed? Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly and the corners of his mouth curled up indifferently. There must be something wrong when things are out of the ordinary. The formation of this Wind Valley gave him an extremely strong sense of curiosity. How did it form such a strong force? Compared to the winged bug's exploration, it was only in terms of vision. The real secret must be hidden in the depths, and I need to personally dig it out. His eyes were filled with strong confidence, and Lin Feng's fighting spirit was high. This Wind Valley was not big. Even if he had to dig 3 feet into the ground, he would dig out the secret of this storm. Galloping, Lin Feng circled around the Wind Valley again and again. Seeing is believing. His feet stepped on every corner of the Wind Valley, and he could deeply feel the secrets of the Wind Valley. The airflow is stable and unchanging, like a spinning top. However, the speed of the spinning on the outside is slightly slower, and the closer to the center, the faster the airflow. Lin Feng thought to himself. This was the conclusion he came to after sweeping the Wind Valley dozens of times. The changes in the airflow were very weak, and the difference between the outside and the inside was extremely small. If one did not pay attention, they would overlook it. However, right now, he could deeply feel it. Although this was the center of the wind source, there were still differences in strength, even if they were on the same level. The place where the wind source is the strongest probably hides all the secrets of the Wind Valley. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. Personally experience, analyze, verify. Without the Tian Wu, which tribe causing trouble, he could completely focus on unraveling the Wind Valley step by step. With a burning gaze, Lin Feng carefully sensed as he slowly moved forward. The truth seemed to be close at hand. The Tian Wu witch tribe. However, where is the strongest wind source and the changes in the airflow? Lin Feng circled around the tribe and continued to walk in circles with a hesitant expression. The changes in the airflow on the outside and inside of the Wind Valley were extremely small, and the changes in the airflow were so small that they could not be sensed at all. The wind pressure here and the changes in the airflow vortex were too strong. It almost blocked all senses. An incense sticks time. A cup of tea. Time slowly passed, and Lin Feng's eyes became deeper and deeper. It was as if he had walked into a dead end. He could vaguely feel that something was within his reach, but he was just a little bit away. What is it? What is it? Lin Feng pursed his lips with a serious expression. His gaze casually swept across the Tian Wu, witch tribe, and looked at the tent-like places. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes brightened, and he gently opened his mouth. I understand now. How could I forget this level? Lin Feng clapped his hands and was overjoyed. Indeed, I can't feel the strength of the wind or the airflow, but the Tian Wu, which tribe can. To build a tribe in the center of the Wind Valley, where the wind source is the strongest, is enough to show that the Tian Wu, which tribe, can perfectly sense the wind. They are naturally close to the wind. They are the embodiment of the wind. Lin Feng's eyes shone with a sparkling luster as he looked around the entire tribe. It was extremely similar to the Gomang witch tribe. The witch tribe, who respected nature, would not place too many unnecessary decorations in the tribe. Other than the 36 large tents, there was only one special existence in the entire tribe. That's it. Lin Feng's hands tightened. He glanced at the center of the tent, where there was an altar-like existence. Huge rocks were piled up, and each of them was carved with a totem. It had 8 heads and 8 tails, a human face, and a tiger body. It was mighty and domineering, filled with arrogance. That was the god of the Tian Wu witch tribe, where their faith was. Supremacy. Boom! A shocking force instantly exploded. In an instant, the altar turned into nothingness, turning into a pile of dust. Swoosh! Lin Feng stepped in, his eyes shining brightly. If those Tian Wu witch tribe members were not dead, they would have gone hysterical and ferocious, wanting to tear him into pieces. He had already tested this point in the Gomang witch tribe in the chaotic swamp. Now, there were no more obstacles. Lin Feng stopped and looked at the square space under his feet with sparkling eyes. If my guess is right, the secret of the Wind Valley. Lin Feng clenched his fists and gathered his energy. It's here. Chapter 538. Boom. Lin Feng landed on the ground with his fiery fist. The intense, engulfing fire engulfed the land and caused a violent explosion. The remaining energy spread in all directions. Oh! Lin Feng floated in the air, and his expression changed slightly. The engulfing fire seemed to have hit a wall, a barrier. It was as if a huge rock was blocking its path. Lin Feng opened his right hand and controlled the engulfing fire freely. He looked down with a burning gaze. Lin Feng's heartbeat immediately sped up. This is... Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The original land had formed a huge pit. It was his masterpiece. In the middle of the pit, there was a huge craggy rock with a diameter of 10 meters. It stood upright like an emperor. With the huge rock as the center, it formed a miraculous scene of emerald green glass. The light was exquisite. The unique texture structure intersected vertically and formed a picture scroll. It flickered strangely. Looking at it carefully, it seemed to contain some secrets. It was extremely profound. It's an engraved pattern array. Lin Feng's eyes were burning. It emitted a unique energy. He was not unfamiliar with this pattern. There is a similar pattern on the city return talisman. However, compared to this huge engraved pattern array, the engravings on the city return talisman were like the scribbles of a child. Engravers were the same as blacksmiths. They were an additional and unique branch of cultivation for warriors. Mysterious and powerful. This is where the wind origin energy is. The fate of the Wind Valley came because of this. Lin Feng looked at the huge rock and nodded slowly. The extremely strong wind energy was emitted by the engraved pattern array and formed the main melody of the Wind Valley. Maybe the engraved pattern array has a mysterious power and is extremely powerful, but there's only one true core. Staring at the huge craggy rock that seemed ordinary, it did not seem to have any special characteristics. However, one could not just look at the surface. Humans knew how to hide themselves, and so did rocks. Just like the Starstone, it also looked so ordinary. I want it. Lin Feng moved. How could one return empty-handed after entering a treasure mountain? To be able to create such a miraculous scene in the Wind Valley, how could the huge craggy rock in front of him be ordinary? But there's a force blocking it. Lin Feng thought to himself. When he used the devouring flames to attack, he encountered a barrier. If he was wrong, this barrier should be inscription formation. To destroy the inscription formation, one must have a power stronger than the inscription master, Lin Feng said softly. His expression was slightly serious. Although he didn't know the strength of the engraver, from the brief contact just now, the engraver's strength was obviously much stronger than he had imagined. Destroying it was not an easy task. However, it was imperative for him to do so. This wind stone is mine. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. Bang! The nightmare devil spear let out a sonorous cry, bringing with it the sharp sound of the wind tearing through the air. The dense chi of heaven and earth instantly gathered. The milky white flames wrapped around the nightmare demon spear, forming a unique source of power. Lin Feng, who was in the air, quickly dove down. Facing this array of engravings, he unleashed his strongest power. 9 flood dragon spear art, Lin Feng shouted. 9 white flood dragons whizzed over with the fierce wind. The power condensed, and the 9 flood dragons merged into one, forming a shocking white light pillar. The power exploded wildly. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded. This was Lin Feng's full power attack. It was enough to kill any expert in Green Smoke City. But this time, the one who was injured was Lin Feng. Puff! Fresh blood spurted out. Lin Feng retreated like a kite with a broken string. His internal organs churned violently, and he almost fainted. The more powerful the attack, the more powerful the reaction force. Now in Green Smoke City, the only one who could hurt Lin Feng was himself. With a pale face, Lin Feng's retreating figure gradually slowed down and stopped in midair. Gasping for breath, Lin Feng wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Only then did the heaving of his chest calm down. His left hand was injured and numb. The injuries on his body were even more severe. However, the astonishing recovery ability of the Phoenix blood healed his injuries in a short time. Such strong power. Lin Feng was shocked. There were indeed experts everywhere in the Douling world. Even though he was invincible in Green Smoke City, in the entire Douling world, there were countless experts stronger than him. Just this array of engravings from Wind Valley was enough to seriously injure him. There is no damage at all, and this 9 Flood Dragon Spear art is my strongest move. Lin Feng pursed his lips, and his eyes shone brightly. Looking down at this array of engravings, how majestic was it? With his own strength, trying to destroy it, it was like an ant trying to shake a tree. Give up just like that? How could he be satisfied? And this was not Lin Feng's character. There will always be flaws. I don't believe that this array of engravings is so perfect. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. He moved his body slightly and immediately arrived above the array of engravings. Looking down at this array of engravings that was hundreds of meters in diameter, the luster was clear and bright, as if it was a starry sky. The engravings were simple and neat, and the composition was strong and powerful. He had a slight feeling of the technique used, but it was impossible for him to break it. The engravings are created by combining the star power with a special power. I heard from Senior High that regardless of whether it is a large engravings array or a small engravings array, it is all about one-stroke composition. Inject the star power into it, and use the engravings as a channel to form a stable space, allowing the star power to be stored in it. And this is the principle of the engravings array. Lin Feng nodded, his eyes shining. All he knew was the most basic knowledge of an engravings master. As for the more profound knowledge, not to mention that he did not know, Wei Hai also did not know. He had not reached that level. As Lin Feng stared at the huge inscription formation, a sense of admiration rose in his heart. To be able to control and use the star power to such an extent, what kind of powerful existence was that? On the other hand, the inscription formation drawn by this powerhouse was centered on this wind stone. It was easy to imagine how precious this wind stone was from a single glance. I must not miss it. Lin Feng was very determined. Looking around the engravings array, Lin Feng slowly wandered around, looking for all kinds of opportunities. Countless ideas and ideas popped up in his mind. Lin Feng and the engravings array were obviously going to waste time. Failure. Still failure. Lin Feng's expression was serious, but he did not waver at all. The repeated failures did not dampen Lin Feng's confidence. Instead, they deeply aroused the stubbornness in his heart. There must be a way. There must be. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He moved up another 100 meters and looked down at this large-scale engravings array. The huge circle was like a starry sky, shining brightly. The most eye-catching thing was undoubtedly the ordinary windstone. It was surrounded by stars and looked extremely noble. Wait, Lin Feng's expression changed slightly, and his eyes slowly lit up. All this time, I've been looking for a flaw in the engravings array, and destroying it, but what if I destroy the wind stone? After thinking for a while, Lin Feng looked at the wind stone. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was feasible. Since this engraving's array was closely connected to the wind stone, then if he destroyed any one of them, he could break the connection between the two. He would change places. Yes, that's it. Lin Feng clenched his fists and swooped down. A person could come up with a solution. Instead of wandering around in a dead end, it was better to look back and see if there was any other way. Perhaps the other way was just covered by some haystacks. The engraving's array has a total of 4 lines connected to the wind stone. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The 4 lines ran through the wind stone, forming a cross of energy transmission, but it tightly tied the wind stone in the middle. Slap! Lin Feng placed his right hand on the wind stone. In an instant, a strong gust of wind rushed into his mind. It was as if he was in a sea of wind, and all the spatial senses around him disappeared. It was extremely shocking. What a magical wind stone! Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he was extremely amazed. He moved his right hand away. Looking at this seemingly ordinary wind stone, Lin Feng's chest heaved up and down. This was definitely a very precious treasure. The energy is extremely strong, and it contains an unbelievable power. Lin Feng nodded lightly. This kind of power was far beyond his knowledge. This ordinary wind stone was much more mysterious than he had imagined. It was not easy to destroy it. However, the wind stone was completely different from the engraving's array. The engraving's array had the remnants of the engraver's power, and when it was attacked, it would resist. However, the wind stone would not. Devouring fire. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Bang! The flames in his hand suddenly appeared, and they were extremely bright. Devouring to strengthen the flames again. The devouring fire had a very powerful characteristic. Although its power was far inferior to the wind stone, the devouring fire was like a foolish old man moving a mountain. There was no hurry. The absorption speed is not bad. Lin Feng thought lightly. It was only slightly inferior to what Toto had let him absorb back then. However, compared to the improvement speed in the Extreme Roads Phoenix realm, it was naturally far inferior. In fact, he did not care how much the devouring fire could improve. The important thing was, could it destroy the wind stone? Time passed bit by bit. Yes, Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised, although it was so subtle that it was almost invisible. However, the devouring fire could indeed melt the wind stone. This was an excellent start. 2 hours. 4 hours. 8 hours. Dripping water could penetrate a stone, and even an iron pestle could be ground into a needle, not to mention the power of the devouring fire. After refining for a full day and night, he finally saw the light of dawn. Pah! It felt as if a rope had broken. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly widened, and he felt as if an unusually strong power had disappeared from one end. However, at this moment, there was a sudden change. The wind in the wind valley started to move, and the wind origin force that was originally in a balanced state seemed to have lost a leg, and the wind valley started to shake violently. In an instant, an extremely fierce storm descended, and it felt as if it was going to tear people into pieces. The shocking power was far stronger than outside the wind valley. Oh no! Lin Feng's expression changed. Chapter 539. The balance was broken. Although the wind valley was located at the center of the wind source, it was not without wind. The airflow in the air was like a spinning top, constantly moving. But because of the existence of the inscription formation, it was restricted, as if a fierce tiger was locked in a cage. But now, the inscription formation was destroyed, as if a big hole was opened in the cage. The fierce tiger was freed from a cage. What should I do? What should I do? The moment the storm started, Lin Feng reacted quickly in his mind. Without any time to think, Lin Feng's gaze gathered on the windstone. In an instant, the radiance violet ring shone, and Lin Feng kept the windstone. There was no obstruction or danger. The connection between the windstone and the inscription formation was like a broken rope. Even if one of them was broken, it would not be able to bind it. The violent wind suddenly stopped. No matter how magical the inscription formation was, it was only a support. The source of the wind came from the windstone. Without the windstone, where would the wind come from? That was close. Lin Feng exhaled softly. He had almost suffered the most violent wind attack. That day outside the wind valley, he had almost reached his limit. If he were to be attacked here, no matter how abnormal his body was, he would not be able to withstand the power. The strength of the expert who built the inscription formation and owned the windstone was unfathomable. The wind has disappeared. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. The airflow was no longer strange. It was no longer like a whirlpool that kept spinning. The current wind valley seemed to have returned to its origin. Hua! The aura instantly spread throughout the entire wind valley. There were no more obstructions. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Although he came for the Color Jade sect, he had benefited a lot. One piece of windstone was enough to make up for everything. The inscription formation was not destroyed. The spirit chi still exists. It was not affected by the disappearance of the windstone. Lin Feng felt a little satisfied. It was obvious that the dense spirit chi here had something to do with the inscription formation, not the windstones. If even the spirit chi disappeared with the windstone, it would be hard for him to explain. It's a success. It's about time to go back. Lin Feng smiled faintly and looked around. The spiritual chi here was slightly inferior to the chaotic swamp, and because of the existence of wind stones, there were very few immortal fruits and immortal herbs in this unique space. Some 1-star and 2-star existences were like weeds by the roadside to him, completely useless. Just treat it as a gift for the Tsayu sect. Lin Feng smiled. He was already very satisfied with accepting a piece of windstone. There was nothing else he wanted. Color Jade sect. How could this be? Pei Ru was stunned. The density of spiritual energy is continuously weakening. There's only 20% left. The voice was firm. It belonged to a youth holding a huge blade. There was still a faint trace of sadness in his eyes, but there wasn't much immaturity on the young man's face. Thunderblade. Pei Ru pursed his lips tightly. After all, he was a sect leader. Although he was shocked, he was still able to control his emotions. His eyes flickered as he looked in the direction of the wind valley, deep in thought. Lei Dao was even less talkative. He followed behind Pei Ru with his lips tightly shut. The atmosphere was tense and somewhat stifling. Right at this moment, Pei Ru's expression changed slightly. In the distance, a blurry figure gradually appeared in front of him with a sharp aura. Even Lei Dao's eyes lit up behind him. Whoosh! It was like a sharp arrow flying through the air. The black figure arrived in the blink of an eye with a faintly discernible smile. Sorry to keep you waiting, sect leader Pei. Lin Feng landed instantly. Brother Lin. Pei Ru's face was filled with surprise. He hadn't heard any news about Lin Feng for so many days, which made him extremely worried. He thought that Lin Feng had encountered some misfortune. Now that he saw that Lin Feng was safe and sound, he was finally relieved. Lin Feng glanced behind Pei Ru and couldn't help but exclaim softly when he saw Lei Dao. Lindigo. Lei Dao bowed slightly, showing great respect. Long time no see, Lei Dao. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. The Lei Dao in front of him was half a head taller than the last time they parted. His body was much stronger. He was indeed young and growing. After not seeing him for a few months, he had changed a lot. Lin Feng glanced at Pei Ru and looked around, but he couldn't see the old figure. He then asked, by the way, Sect Leader Pei, where's Grandma? Pei Ru's expression changed slightly, and he forced a smile. Grandma is very happy. Let's go, Brother Lin. I'll take you to see her. Looking at the change in Pei Ru's expression, Lin Feng had a bad premonition. He said seriously, okay. He followed Pei Ru and walked through the treehouse. Soon, they arrived at a place with verdant hills and limpid waters, surrounded by lush greenery. Lin Feng took a light breath and looked not far away with bright eyes. There was a familiar figure lying there. Grandma, Lin Feng's footsteps were heavy as he looked at the old body in the grass that had no vitality at all. Pei Ru sighed softly. All these years, even if her body couldn't bear the burden, even if she stepped into the gates of hell a few times, Grandma still managed to survive. Turning around to look at Lin Feng, Pei Ru smiled. "Brother Lin, Grandma passed away with a smile on her face." Lin Feng nodded. He understood very well. Although they hadn't known each other for a long time, he could deeply feel Grandma's persistence. If not for that, he wouldn't have entered the Wind Valley. She lived because there was a belief that supported her and didn't let her fall. And now, she had no more worries. Linda Gu, Master, passed away peacefully. Lei Dao's eyes flickered with a hint of nostalgia. Lin Feng responded softly. It could be seen from the smile on Grandma's face when she died. She left this world happily. Sigh, it's a pity that good times don't last long. Just now, the storm suddenly disappeared and the spirit energy started to weaken rapidly. The sect must be in chaos now. Pei Ru's brows were tightly knitted and he was obviously very worried. He looked at Lin Feng and said, Brother Lin, what exactly happened in the Wind Valley?" Feeling Pei Ru and Lei Dao's expectant gazes, Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. Indeed, such a big rise and fall could make people collapse. It was already good that Pei Ru could still suppress his emotions. The spirit energy here is only 10% of what it was in the Wind Valley. Lin Feng sensed his surroundings and pondered. He wasn't surprised. The reason why the spirit energy in the Wind Valley could travel so far to the Colored Jade sect was very simple. Because of the storm, the violent wind transmitted the spirit energy. But now that the wind stone had disappeared, although the spirit energy was overflowing in the Wind Valley, without the wind as a carrier, how could it reach the Colored Jade sect? It was reasonable for it to weaken. It's a long story. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Looking at Pei Ru and Lei Dao, Lin Feng's eyes shone. "I wonder if sect leader Pei is interested in making a trip with me." Pei Ru said in surprise. The journey from the Colored Jade sect to the Wind Valley was not far. Moreover, without the obstruction of the storm, it was easy to travel. Soon, Lin Feng brought the two of them outside the Wind Valley. The storm actually disappeared without a trace. Pei Ru couldn't help but shake his head and exclaim. Born in the Colored Jade sect, Pei Ru couldn't be more familiar with the storm. Now that it had suddenly disappeared, he couldn't get used to it. The spirit energy here is so dense. Lei Dao's eyes flickered, and he was pleasantly surprised. Pei Ru was stunned and immediately turned from worry to joy. Yes, it's denser than when the spirit energy in the Colored Jade sect was at its densest. Saying this, Pei Ru couldn't help but look at Lin Feng, extremely curious to know the answer. However, Lin Feng smiled indifferently and looked at the two of them. "Do you want to enter the Wind Valley to take a look?" "What?" Pei Ru and Lei Dao were instantly stunned. "Let's go," Lin Feng said with a smile. Without waiting for any reaction from the two of them, he immediately took the lead and stepped into the passageway. Exclamations of surprise continued. Pei Ru and Lei Dao followed behind Lin Feng and exclaimed in surprise. "I really didn't expect the Wind Valley to have a passageway." Pei Ru's eyes were filled with disbelief. Lin Feng smiled indifferently and didn't explain too much. Bringing Pei Ru to the Wind Valley was his duty. Since he had taken the Wind Stones, the spirit energy naturally couldn't be transmitted to the Colored Jade sect. If the disciples of the Colored Jade sect wanted to cultivate, they could only come to the Wind Valley. However, what was lost at the swings was gained at the swings. The spirit energy in the Wind Valley was the densest and densest. It was far superior to the Colored Jade sect. Moreover, without the storm, this place would become another place filled with spirit energy. However, to him, it was useless. He might as well do a favor and give it to the Colored Jade sect. It could be considered as returning the favor to Pei Hong and Pei Qing. That way, he could leave in peace. Dumbfounded, Pei Ru and Lei Dao opened their eyes wide, and their faces were filled with shock. They had never imagined that the inside of the Wind Valley would be such a place. Such dense spirit energy. Lei Dao muttered. The density of the spiritual energy here was twice as dense as outside of the Wind Valley. Pei Ru blankly looked at his surroundings. His experience was naturally much greater than Lei Dao's, and he clearly knew just how astonishing this spirit chi place was. It was enough to make the entire green smoke city boil. Brother Lin, this place... Pei Ru's face was filled with shock. The Wind Valley used to be a place where the Tianwu sorcerer tribe lived. Lin Feng did not hide anything. This place was filled with traces of the existence of the Tianwu sorcerer tribe. Even the huge tents were vivid in his eyes. Even if Pei Ru knew that he had killed the Tianwu sorcerer tribe. So what? There were only benefits and no disadvantages to revealing one's strength appropriately. Tianwu sorcerer tribe? Pei Ru's eyes widened in shock. In fact, to most cultivators, the name of the sorcerer tribe was like a nightmare. Moreover, it was a tribe. Don't worry. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. I have already killed all 36 Tianwu sorcerer tribe members. Now, there are no longer any threats in the Wind Valley. Sect leader Pei can lead the Colored Jade sect disciples to cultivate here in peace and will not be disturbed. Pei Ru could not hear the latter part of the sentence. His face was stunned, and his expression was filled with shock. 36 Tianwu sorcerer tribe members. An entire tribe. Lin Feng's casual tone caused him to feel a deep shock in his heart. He was completely suffocated. What kind of terrifying strength did this young man, who was only 20 years old, possess? Pei Ru was completely stunned as he stared blankly at Lin Feng. Chapter 540. Do you really have to leave? Aren't you going to stay for a while longer? Lin Feng. Outside the Wind Valley, Pei Hong, Pei Qing, Xiao Lu, and the others bid farewell to Lin Feng reluctantly. Pei Ru and Lei Dao were among them, clearly showing their farewell. Yes, it's time. Lin Feng nodded with a smile. He had stayed in the Wind Valley for almost a month, and after ensuring that there were no more worries, he could finally leave with peace of mind. After all, regardless of whether it was the 1-month period he had agreed upon with Feng Tiansheng, the 3-month period he had agreed upon with Qianqian, or even the half-a-year period he had agreed upon with Sima Shi, they were all nearing. It was impossible for him to carefree and train in the Wind Valley. It was time to return to Green Smoke City, and then set off for Fierce Yan's sect. Thank you, Brother Lin, brother. Pei Ru nodded heavily. You have already thanked me many times, Sect Master Pei. Lin Feng smiled. In an instant, the crowd burst into laughter. Pei Ru smiled embarrassedly. Thank you so much, but it's hard for me to express it. It's just a small token of my appreciation. Lin Feng smiled and looked around at everyone. We are all friends. Moreover, I also hope that Colored Jade sect can return to its former glory so that grandmother can rest in peace. He sighed in his heart. Lin Feng admired grandmother's persistence. In addition to Pei Hong, Pei Qing, Xiao Lu, and the others, he did love Colored Jade sect and did not hesitate to help them. The secret manual left by the Lu family was also copied and given to Colored Jade sect. Together with 10,000 Do Ling coins, the treatment was the same as Fengyang Valley. Everyone, I promise that we will meet again. Lin Feng looked at everyone with sparkling eyes. Goodbye, Lindigo. Take care, Lindigo. Lin Feng, be careful. Feeling everyone's heartfelt farewell and reluctance, Lin Feng felt warmth in his heart. Although Green Smoke City was a small place, he had made many friends. Windrise Valley Senior High, Xin Air, the Qi siblings, Caifei Sect's Pei Hong and Pei Qing, Xiao Lu's Thunderblade, and so on. He was very reluctant to leave, but it was just like when he had left home, when he had left the Tianwu continent. Since he had embarked on this path, there was no such thing as regret. He had too many things to do. Father, Xiao, Toto, as a son, a husband, and a disciple, he had great responsibilities. In this Douling world, one could only find the true direction by continuously moving forward. Goodbye, Tsaiyu sect. Lin Feng closed his eyes and said softly in his heart. Then, he turned into a gust of wind and left. Green Smoke City. TSK, you don't know Lin Feng? That's the #1 expert in Green Smoke City. Really? How, don't brag. Why would I lie to you? Don't you know that the Feng clan is extremely respectful to Lin Feng? It's like a mouse seeing a cat. In that battle, when the Fong clan and the Liu clan were locked in a stalemate, Lin Feng suddenly appeared, wearing a set of golden armor and a feathered crown on his head. His blade flashed like a thunder god descending. The experts of the Liu clan only saw a flash of cold light in front of their eyes. In an instant, blood spurted out, and their heads flew. Lin Feng walked on the streets of Greensmoke City with a smile. Ever since he entered the city, he had heard his name resounding like thunder in his ears. He had only left for a month, but for some reason, he had become a popular topic of discussion after meals, especially the various storytellers who were exaggerating as if they were telling the truth. Every sentence is about the Fong clan. It seems my fame has something to do with the Fong clan. Lin Feng shook his head helplessly. He could vaguely understand. There was no such thing as an airtight wall in the world. Moreover, he had participated in the battle between the Fong and Liu clans. Many of the Fong clan warriors knew about it. In addition, when he visited the Fong clan a month ago, the Fong clan was holding a regular meeting and all the major factions were present. As long as someone wanted to integrate them, it was reasonable for the current situation to occur. After all, now that the Fong clan was in power, anyone and everything related to the Fong clan, naturally, it would be a hot topic. It doesn't matter. Lin Feng smiled. Anyway, he was not missing a single strand of hair. If they wanted to say it, let them say it. After leaving Greensmoke City and not hearing any news for a while, his name would be buried in people's memories. Fong clan. Brother Lin Feng is indeed punctual. Fong Tiansheng welcomed him with a smile. Patriarch, you are in a good mood. Lin Feng smiled as he stepped in. Another month had passed. Now, no one in Greensmoke City could hear the words Liu clan. With the Fong clan's thunderous purge, anyone and everything related to the Liu clan had disappeared. The Fong clan had full control of Greensmoke City. As the patriarch, Fong Tiansheng was naturally in a good mood. Fong Tiansheng's smiling eyes narrowed as he gestured for Tung Qingshan to enter. Brother Lin, if Brother Lin Feng hears good news, he will also be in a good mood. Oh, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Did you buy the set of wooden carvings from the Healing Gang? To him, this was undoubtedly the most important thing. Brother Lin, you guessed half of it right. Fong Tiansheng smiled brightly and blinked. I didn't just buy the set of wooden carvings from the Healing Gang. 7 days ago, I helped Brother Lin find a second set of wooden carvings. Although the price was a little expensive, with the Fong clan's appearance, the Flag Cloud sect wouldn't dare to not give us some face. 2 sets of wooden carvings. Lin Feng was very surprised. However, it was unexpectedly good news. Originally, he had planned to buy the set of wooden carvings from the Healing Gang. Unexpectedly, now, he had obtained it without any effort. Thank you, Patriarch. Lin Feng thanked him sincerely. Just as Fong Tiansheng had said, he was in extremely good mood. Originally, he had 3 sets of wooden carvings. Adding the set from the Caifei sect and the 2 sets now, he had a total of 6 sets of wooden carvings. Sect leader Pei said that there are a total of 7 sets of wooden carvings. In other words, what I lack now is the last set. Lin Feng unconsciously clenched his right fist. He was very excited. According to Pei Ru, there seemed to be a secret hidden in these 7 sets of wooden carvings. Grandma had mentioned it to him before she died. As for what the secret was, Pei Ru didn't know. But obviously, it wasn't ordinary. Looking at Lin Feng's surprised expression, Fong Tiansheng felt very satisfied. Now that the Fong clan had established a foothold in the Greensmoke City, no one could shake them. The only thing they had to be wary of was the great powers in the other cities of the Yanling Prefecture. According to the news, Lin Feng and Qin Xianqian had a close relationship. There were even rumors that he wanted to join the Fiercian sect. Fong Tiansheng naturally couldn't wait to curry favor with him. Money was no longer important to the Fong clan. Dominating the Greensmoke City would increase their income by more than tenfold. In the future, who would dare to say no to the Fong clan in the Greensmoke City? The strong decided everything. Fong Tiansheng was very clear about this principle. Therefore, to win Lin Feng's favor and tie this huge tree to the Fong clan was extremely important. Here are 765 with spirit hearts. Fong Tiansheng pushed a storage ring over and nodded. However, most of them are star C rank 1 with spirit hearts. Please forgive me, Brother Lin. After all, there are too few people in the Green Smoke City who can kill a wood spear heart. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he took the storage ring. However, it was a lot more than he had imagined. As for the fact that the grade was too low, he was already mentally prepared for it. At least, there were enough. Patriarch is too polite. How much is it? Lin Feng looked up and asked. Fong Tiansheng smiled faintly. Fortunately, all the other powers give our Fong family some face. In addition, Green Smoke City doesn't have much demand for wood spirit hearts, so the price we buy them is usually lower than the market price. Fong Tiansheng looked at Lin Feng and said with a smile, including the 2 sets of wood carvings, the total is less than 120,000 soul coins. Take the extra 10,000 soul coins as a small gift from the Fong family to Brother Lin. 10,000 fighting spirit coins was not a small amount, but for Fong Tiansheng and the Fong clan, using this to curry favor with Lin Feng was more effective. Thank you for your kindness, Patriarch. Lin Feng nodded. He immediately took out 20,000 soul coins and placed it on the table. He said in a serious tone, "This is a separate matter. Lin Feng already feels bad for troubling the Fong family to use manpower. How can I let the Fong family lose money again?" This, Fong Tiansheng hesitated. Patriarch, if you don't accept it, then you don't consider me, Lin Feng, a friend. Lin Feng looked at Fong Tiansheng. How could he not know what he was thinking? He smiled and said, Patriarch, don't worry. If the Fong family is in trouble in the future, I will do my best to help. I won't refuse. Since he had made a promise, he would definitely keep it. Although the Fong family was deliberately trying to curry favor with him, he did owe them a favor. Good. Fong Tiansheng laughed. If I refuse again, then I will be too arrogant. But after deducting the change, the total is 118,000 soul coins. There are still 2,000 soul coins left. Patriarch, please distribute them to the Fong brothers for me. Lin Feng said. There was no need to calculate everything so carefully. That would be treating him as an outsider. Lin Feng looked at Fong Tiansheng with sparkling eyes. I hope Patriarch can help me keep an eye on the other wooden carvings. If there is any news, just inform President Qin of the Qin Chamber of Commerce. Lin Feng, thank you in advance. Good. Brother Lin, don't worry. Fong Tiansheng's eyes were bright. Your business is the Fong family's business. Come, let's drink. Fong Tiansheng picked up the wine jug and filled it to the brim. Lin Feng smiled and raised his cup. The matter in Green Smoke City had come to an end. No matter if it was Fengyang Valley, Caifei sect, Fong family, or Lu family, everything had come to an end for the time being. Let's go, Qianqian. Lin Feng smiled. Okay. Qin Qianqian walked beside Lin Feng happily. She turned back to look at Green Smoke City. Qianqian is really reluctant to part with you. Lin to go. That's right. Lin Feng's eyes were sparkling. There were too many memories here. To Qianqian, this was the place where she pledged her love to him. To him, this was the starting point for him to leave the Tianwu continent and enter the Douling world, especially the chaotic mountain. Lin Feng's eyes were sparkling. His intuition told him that there must be a huge secret in this place where he entered the Douling world. Everything was predestined. It was just that he was not strong enough to discover it yet. I will be back. Goodbye, Green Smoke City. Lin Feng muttered in his heart. He turned back and looked at Green Smoke City deeply. Then, he left with Qin Qianqian. Chapter 541. Fierce Yin Sect. Lu Zhen is dead? The Lu family was wiped out? The voice sounded shocked. A middle-aged man in martial attire put down his teacup, his eagle eyes flashing coldly. One of the 10 Great Guardians, Han Lu. Is the information accurate? Han Lu asked with a frown, and he revealed a dignified, imposing manner. I sent people to investigate the day I heard the news. The young man in white cupped his hands and said, Green Smoke City has fallen into the hands of the Fong family. Not just the Liu family, even the forces close to the Liu family have been eradicated. The Fong family is very ruthless. Han Lu frowned and said, "Where did the Fong family get the power to wipe out the Liu family?" "There's a young man named Lin Fong, about 20 years old." The young man in white said seriously, "I don't know where he came from, but he's very powerful. He killed the Liu family's Lai Hu, Lu Long, and other strong men, and wiped out the 3 groups of men of sacrifice. And then..." The information was very detailed. If Lin Fong heard it, he would be shocked. The young man in white was almost 80% right, except his strength. "You cut off my source of income, and you still want to join the Fiercian sect?" Han Lu snorted. "Master, should we avenge Senior?" The young man in white's eyes flashed coldly. "Avenge what?" Han Lu looked at him with disdain. The young man in white was stunned. Han Lu said disdainfully, "How is Lu Zhen the same as you? How can such a useless disciple be my disciple? He didn't even enter the inner sect, and he couldn't wait to return to the family after passing the preliminary test. How stupid." The young man in white responded softly, but didn't say anything. His skills were inferior. He deserved to die. Han Lu's voice was calm, and his eyes deepened, but Lu Zhen's death is one thing, and this Lin Fong is another. You have to look at the owner before beating a dog. A mere kid is so arrogant and despotic. Han Lu's eyes flashed, and he sneered. "If he really dares to come to my Fiercian sect, humph, I'll teach him a lesson and let him know the difference between Green Smoke City and Fiercian sect. How big is it?" Crack! The teacup in Han Lu's hand broke into pieces. Whoosh! The quick-fire shuttle shuttled forward at high speed. Lin Fong carried Qin Qianqian effortlessly. The secret clone controlled the deceleration space with ease. Lin Feng's main body absorbed the astral stones, seizing every second. The journey from the Green Smoke City to the Fiercian sect was quite long. "Liniga, why are we taking this path?" Qin Qianqian asked curiously. "There are special trade routes between the cities. The chances of running into the Magi are very low, and it's not easy to run into danger. Although it's a bit of a detour, it's much safer." "With danger comes opportunity," Lin Fong said with a smile. "Only by wandering in an unknown area can you gain experience." Qin Qianqian nodded thoughtfully and smiled sweetly. "Anyway, Lindigu is here. Qianqian is not afraid." Lin Fong smiled and nodded. Indeed, from a purely safe point of view, choosing the trade route was much simpler and easier. Although the journey was a little long, it was not very dangerous. They could run as fast as they wanted, and it would take less time to reach the Fiercian sect. But this was not what he wanted. Be prepared for danger in times of peace. It's too boring to just travel. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. He longed for challenges and battles. For the first time, he was truly wandering in the Douling world without any worries. This place was full of unknowns. Anyway, the half-year period I agreed with Senior Sima, she is not up yet. There should be enough time. Lin Feng thought. As a martial artist, why should he be afraid of danger? He should grow in blood and battles. Moreover, he had come on purpose this time. He had an ulterior motive. The Gomang Magi can enrich the heart of Magi. The Zhu Rong Magi can be absorbed by the fire life Astral to strengthen its energy. And most importantly, the Tian Wu Magi. Lin Feng's eyes were bright, and he was looking forward to it. He had tasted the sweetness of the Tian Wu Magi in the Wind Valley. The blood essence of the Tian Wu Magi was of great help to him. Increasing his body's basic value was something that could only be found by chance. If I tell Qianqian that I deliberately took a dangerous route to find the Magi, she should be shocked, right? Lin Feng smiled, so he did not mention it to Qianqian. Other martial artists wanted to avoid the Magi, but he was different. The Douling continent was indeed full of danger. Along the way, they encountered endless beasts. Lin Feng rarely fought. In fact, he mostly left it to Qin Qianqian. The little girl was abnormally active. She, who did not have much combat experience, finally had a chance to train. Especially under Lin Feng's guidance, Her combat ability improved very quickly. Yay! Linda Gu! Qianqian won again. Qin Qianqian was extremely happy after killing another level 3 Star Sea State Yanhuai beast. She made a victory sign to Lin Feng, like a child waiting for praise. At this moment, a cold light let out a shrill cry and turned into a shadow that instantly jumped down from the treetops. Black and white with a hint of red. Whoosh! It was extremely fast. Qin Qianqian's expression changed, but it was too late for her to react. Just as she was flustered and did not know what to do, an abnormally strong aura rushed over and instantly enveloped Qin Qianqian. The shocking aura covered everything. That milky white shadow was abnormally strong, and it stunned her completely. 9 Dragon Spear Art. Lin Feng's voice seemed to resound in the sky. Although the distance was far, the attack was extremely fast. It was all condensed in that milky white aura. Like a sharp arrow, the shocking force instantly passed above Qin Qianqian's right shoulder and landed on the ferocious red light behind her. It hit the target. Pong! A shocking explosion sounded. The shrill cry disappeared in an instant. That was a black and white venomous wheel snake. It no longer made any sound and was blown to pieces. Although it was only the power of the spear energy, it was not something a beast of such strength could block. Ha! Lin Feng's figure suddenly moved and kept the venomous wheel snake's beast crystal into his bag. Scared, Lin Feng looked at Qin Qianqian with a smile. No. Qin Qianqian blushed. Qianqian, remember, Lin Feng said seriously. As a warrior, you can't let your guard down under any circumstances. Do you understand? Qin Qianqian nodded hard and looked at Lin Feng embarrassedly. She bit her cherry lips and said, "Thank you, Linda Gu." Lin Feng smiled and rubbed Qin Qianqian's little head. "Let's go." "Okay." Qin Qianqian smiled happily. They sped along. There was no danger along the way. Traveling in the Douling world was different from the Green Smoke secret realm. Here, anything could happen. Under Lin Feng's guidance and help, Qin Qianqian grew very quickly. From a young and inexperienced girl, in just 2 to 3 days, although she could not be considered to have experienced hundreds of battles, at least she had some experience and was no longer ignorant. Blindly indulging in one's growth was not enough. She had to train. Whether it was in the Qin Chamber of Commerce or the Fierce Yin sect, Qin Qianqian was like a flower in a greenhouse, untouched by the wind and rain. However, this did not mean that she could not withstand the test. On the contrary, she only lacked such opportunities, due to the environment. "Thank you, Linda Gu." Qin Qianqian's eyes were bright, and she smiled happily. Only now did she truly feel that she was a warrior with great strength. She no longer needed the protection of others and could stand on her own. "I didn't do anything." Lin Feng smiled. Just as Senior Sima Su said, Qianqian was not only talented, but also very smart. She could remember many things clearly even after he taught her once. She could even infer many things from one example. For example, when she was ambushed by the venomous wheel snake, she remembered it in her heart after missing it once. Moreover, Qianqian's spiritual treasures were very luxurious. Attack, defense, control, everything was available. The quality was even more shocking, including weapons, armor, and soul weapons. All of them were the best of the best. Compared to her, his was much more shabby. "You are indeed from a wealthy family." Lin Feng smiled lightly. Although Qianqian did not say it explicitly, he could tell from the attitude of the people in the Qin Chamber of Commerce in Green Smoke City. And the spiritual treasures she was wearing were at least of the 6-star level. How could ordinary warriors be equipped with such treasures? Why go back this time? I will take revenge. Qin Qianqian clenched her small fist and said angrily. "Revenge?" Lin Feng was stunned. "Yes, I want to compete with Qin Huai again. Let's see if she is better than me." Qin Qianqian put her hands on her waist, and her small face was red. She seemed to have thought of something and was unable to calm down. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he nodded thoughtfully. He thought that Qianqian was talking about revenge. She must have had some old grudges with Qin Huai Huai. He did not need to worry about that. Li Yin's sect, Lin Feng said softly. To be honest, he had not decided whether to join or not. Previously, he looked forward to joining Li Yin's sect because he lacked a good star condensation technique. But now, with enough star stones, the need for star condensation technique was greatly reduced. As for spear techniques, he already had 6 sets of wooden carvings. We will talk about it when the time comes. Lin Feng smiled. Anyway, he was not in a hurry. There was still a long time before he reached Li Yin's sect. As for leaving Green Smoke City, it was imperative to go to Li Yin's sect. After all, Green Smoke City was too small. As for himself, he also wanted to see the world. As the saying goes, people walk to higher places and water flows to lower places. Strange, I have left Green Smoke City for so long. Why haven't I met the sorcerer tribe? Lin Feng was confused. In the Chaotic Mountain, he could meet the sorcerer tribe easily. But now, he had traveled for 3 days. He did not see anything. Wait, I seem to have forgotten something important. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he said in a daze. Whether it is the Zhu Rong sorcerer tribe, the Gomang sorcerer tribe, or the Tianwu sorcerer tribe, they all live as clans, not individuals. And the place where they build their clans is not deep in the mountains, but a place of spiritual energy. Lin Feng clenched his fist and secretly blamed himself for his negligence. Frowning slightly, Lin Feng understood a lot in an instant and was about to move forward. Suddenly, Qin Qianqian's scream came from not far away. Although he wasn't sure of the specific direction, as long as he followed the direction of the clouds, he wouldn't be wrong. Unlike the Gomang tribe, who uses wings to fly, the Wu Magus tribe is better at controlling the wind to fly. In terms of flying speed, among the 12 Magus tribes, the Wu Magus tribe is definitely one of the best. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly as he explained while looking up at the sky. Qin Qianqian nodded thoughtfully. He had gained some knowledge. Look, the speed of the clouds here is much faster than what we saw just now. If it's as I expected, we should be close to the Wu Magus tribe. Lin Feng's voice was soft, but his heart was filled with anticipation. To be honest, to him, killing this Wu Magus tribe was not of much use. What he wanted was the entire Wu Magus tribe. Linda Gu, Qin Qianqian said nervously. Are we really going to provoke the Wu Magus tribe? Lin Feng smiled faintly as he felt the extremely heavy weight on his waist. How could he not know what Qianqian was thinking? He said slowly, "It's not us, it's me." Linda Gu. Qin Qianqian immediately said anxiously. Qianqian is not afraid, really. I alone am enough, Qianqian. Lin Feng's eyes were calm. I'm used to fighting alone. If you join the battle, you'll be restricted. Qin Qianqian pursed her lips and lowered her head. She wasn't an unreasonable girl. With her current strength, she really couldn't help Lin Feng much. Instead, she would be a burden. Linda Gu, you must be careful. Qin Qianqian's voice was soft and urgent, filled with deep worry. Don't worry. Lin Feng nodded with a smile. He turned his head and looked ahead. A glint flashed across his eyes. If he told Qianqian that his target was the entire Wu Magus tribe, she would probably be scared out of her wits. In fact, he didn't intend to tell her. Just as he said, he alone was enough. He slowly approached. Lin Feng looked up at the clouds in the sky, his eyes shining. He couldn't get too close to the Wu Magus tribe. Otherwise, he might be discovered. The Magus tribe was born with an innate talent and was extremely compatible with nature. Their sensing ability far surpassed that of human warriors. This was something he had experienced deeply in the chaotic swamp. It didn't have much to do with strength. Wait, Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. He only cared about chasing after them and seemed to have missed an extremely important piece of information. Qianqian saw that Wu Magus tribe just now. It's impossible for him not to sense Qianqian's existence. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as his heart trembled. This discovery was extremely important. Given the character of the Magus tribe, There was no reason for them to let human warriors off in such a desolate place. The Wu Magus tribe was the same as the Zhurong Magus tribe. They were also one of the Magus tribes that were rather violent and murderous. Something strange. It's rather strange. Lin Feng furrowed his brows in confusion. Could it be that what Qianqian saw wasn't the Wu Magus tribe? Then how could the movement of these clouds be so coincidental? This is caused by the wind. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly as he pondered. There was clearly only one answer. There's no need to think so much. Whether it's a dragon or a snake, when I see it with my own eyes, my doubts will definitely be resolved. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he maintained his speed at a moderate pace. He stared at the rapidly moving clouds in the sky and became even more cautious. It was better to be safe than sorry. He sped for a full 15 minutes. Ha! The urgent fire shuttle suddenly stopped. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. At that moment, the clouds in the sky were gradually slowing down. The speed at which they were slowing down was rather fast. Most importantly, his speed did not change at all. In other words, there was only one possibility. The Wu Magus tribe ahead had stopped moving. The control of the wind gradually disappeared, and the cloud's movement naturally slowed down. Although he did not know why the Wu Magus tribe did not kill Qianqian and him, the countless clues indicated that the Wu Magus tribe ahead was definitely the Wu Magus tribe. Whoosh! Lin Feng leaped lightly and hovered in midair. At that moment, whoosh! The urgent fire shuttle rapidly dove down. Under the control of the secret clone, there was no change. Qianqian exclaimed, "What's wrong, Lin Ge?" "We'll stay here," Lin Feng's secret clone said slowly. Qianqian's face was filled with shock and worry. However, when she looked up at the sky, there was no sign of Lin Feng. He could unleash his full strength alone. Lin Feng moved slowly, his eyes sparkling. He had long been used to fighting alone. Even if he was defeated, he could still escape. If he brought Qianqian along, although he did not want to say it, it would indeed be a burden. If he encountered an especially strong enemy, he would not be able to escape because of Qianqian's restraint. He could only fight with his back to the river. Unlike now, where he could come and go as he pleased. There must be a secret. The Wu Magus tribe's settlement. Lin Feng's expression was solemn as he moved forward cautiously. After sprinting for a quarter of an hour, he was already on top of the mountain range with layers upon layers of peaks. Faint spiritual energy seeped out. Outstanding people were everywhere. The further he went, the stronger the spirit energy, until he stepped onto a towering mountain peak. The Wu Magus tribe really likes to stay in a valley. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled as he concealed his aura and looked down at the mountain peak. Below the mountain peak was an incomparably huge valley, dozens of times larger than the Wind Valley. Outside the valley, it was surrounded by mountain peaks, like stars surrounding the moon, forming a unique landscape. I wonder how many Wu Magus tribe members there are. Lin Feng pondered as his eyes lit up. If he acted rashly, he would only be asking for trouble. Since he had found this place, he was not in a hurry to go deeper. I'll investigate slowly. It won't be too late to enter when I'm confident. Lin Feng nodded with a serious expression. Last time, the Wind Valley only had 36 Wu Magus tribe members, and it had taken him a lot of effort. The valley before him was dozens of times larger than the Wind Valley. 4 hours, 8 hours, 16 hours. Time passed slowly. Lin Feng, who had concealed his aura and was hiding in the tall mountain peak, did not waver at all. So many. In just 20 hours, dozens of Wu Magus tribe members have returned. Lin Feng was shocked and felt lucky. The Wu Magus tribe in this valley was obviously more powerful than he had imagined. If he had rushed in impulsively yesterday, he was afraid he would have been doomed. But it's very strange. It's really strange. Lin Feng frowned deeply and was extremely puzzled. Every Wu Magus tribe member returned in a hurry, as if they had something important to do. It was not the leisurely or triumphant state. That feeling, it was as if something big had happened in the tribe. But he could not find out. Oh, Lin Feng's eyes were deep, and he was unable to understand. Doubts and question marks kept circling in his mind, making him curious. It was not easy to find such a Wu Magus tribe. Naturally, he was unwilling to give up, but if he wanted to attack alone, that would be a joke. Should I risk it, or should I choose to give up? Lin Feng could not help but clench his fists tightly. He was hesitating in his heart. Suddenly, bang, an earth-shattering sound rang out. Chapter 543. Shocking flames erupted. Along with the earth-shattering explosion, a mushroom cloud rose into the air. His surging aura was enough to shock anyone. What a powerful flame! Lin Feng was shocked. It was far stronger than his rebirth flame, not to mention the devouring flame. That was the true power of a Star Sea level. It was not something his Peak Star River level flame could compare to. In Yinling Prefecture, especially Green Smoke City, most warriors chose the path of a battle god. Therefore, he rarely saw a battle god or a heavenly spirit master. As for a heavenly soul master, he had never heard of one. But now it was an eye-opener. It was not inferior to a battle god's Star Sea level power. Along with that cry, the deafening sounds of battle rang out like a sudden clap of thunder. Lin Feng looked at the bottom of the mountain. Although he did not use his aura, he could still feel the surging air waves like lightning and thunder. That was a war. In an instant, Lin Feng came to a realization. I see. No wonder all the Tianwu Sorcerer Tribe members could not wait to return to their tribe. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he nodded. But, strange, the Sorcerer Tribe is the most powerful tribe in the Douling world. Who dares to challenge them? Lin Feng was stunned. Humans were like babies in front of the Sorcerer Tribe. They could not even avoid them, let alone attack a tribe with such a terrifying number of Sorcerer Tribe members. This was simply courting death. Moreover, the Sorcerer Tribe of the same level completely defeated the human Sorcerer Tribe. Now, the outbreak of this fierce war was really too inconceivable. Could it be? Lin Feng's eyes lit up, but he immediately shook his head and denied it. Impossible. The Sorcerer Tribe's archenemy is far away. It's impossible for them to enter the hinterland directly. His brows furrowed, but after one question disappeared, another rose. Lin Feng stood indifferently on the mountain peak, overlooking the intense battle in the valley. His mind was filled with many thoughts, but he still felt puzzled. Lin Feng's eyes brightened as he smiled faintly. No matter what, this sudden war is an opportunity for me. He was worried about how to destroy the Tianwu Sorcerer Tribe. Wasn't this exactly what he wanted? It was quite wonderful. The battle is in full swing. I'll see if there's a chance. Lin Feng clenched his fists, his eyes bright. Close. The two figures gradually became blurry, as if they were overlapping. In an instant, Lin Feng's eyes changed colors. His life spirit's senses suddenly came out. In terms of level, the life spirit was much better than the life spirit, but in terms of sensing ability, the life spirit was far superior to the life spirit. Moreover, his fate soul had fused with the Astral, making it even more powerful. Whoosh! His senses were clear and natural. In an instant, Lin Feng's expression changed. His life spirit had yet to sense the battle in the valley, but it had reached another mountain peak not far away. Other than himself, there was another aura. Good lad. Lin Feng's lips curled up slightly. In the blink of an eye, Lin Feng disappeared from where he stood, on another mountain peak. What an intense battle. It's really rare to see one. A soft voice murmured leisurely. It was a young man in white. He had a well-proportioned body and a scabbard at his waist. His hands are behind his back, and he looked gentle and elegant. Indeed, a calm voice suddenly sounded. The young man in white's expression changed. He turned around and saw a young man in black walking slowly with a faint smile on his face. Hello, I'm Lin Feng. Lin Feng stepped forward and smiled. The young man in white in front of him had a gentle and elegant air about him. His first impression of him was quite good. Hello, I'm Lin Feng. The young man in white saw that Lin Feng had no ill intentions and nodded with a smile. Lin Feng repeated the name a few times, remembering the special name in his mind. "Brother Lin, you seem to be quite strong." Bai Yi's eyes shone as he looked Lin Feng up and down. Since Lin Feng was able to discover him and approach him silently, Lin Feng's strength was definitely greater than his. Lin Feng smiled faintly and did not dwell on this question. He walked to Bai Yi's side and stood on the mountain peak. Lin Feng looked straight into the valley. "Brother Bai, do you know what's happening down there?" Bai Yi was stunned. "Brother Lin, you don't know? Then why are you here?" "I just happened to pass by," Lin Feng said with a smile. Bai Yi nodded. "I see." Looking down, Bai Yi's eyes shone. The ancient tribe is attacking the sorcerer tribe. It's a rare battle. The ancient tribe? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. There were 3 major tribes in the human race: the sorcerer tribe, the ancient tribe, and the human tribe. The sorcerer tribe was the most powerful, followed by the ancient tribe, and the human tribe was the weakest. However, he had heard Xian Er mention before that although the ancient clan was slightly stronger than the human clan, they paled in comparison to the sorcerer clan. They could not be compared at all. In the Douling world, the combined strength of the ancient tribe and the human tribe was no match for the sorcerer tribe. However, this had completely overturned his beliefs. It was strange. "Brother Bai, may I ask why the ancient tribe is attacking the sorcerer tribe?" Lin Feng asked curiously. "I'm not sure about the exact reason," Bai Yi said seriously. Bai Yi said with a straight face. "However, everyone knows that the 2 clans outside the Titanic Crescent City are on good terms with each other. 3 years ago, they started a clash, and a year ago, several small-scale battles broke out. This time, judging from the situation, I'm afraid it's going to be a fight to the death." Lin Feng nodded and said in surprise, "Didn't they say that the ancient tribe is not as powerful as the sorcerer tribe? Why are they not giving in to the sorcerer tribe?" Bai Yi was stunned when he heard this. He laughed. "Brother Lin, you must be joking. Indeed, the sorcerer tribe is much stronger than the ancient tribe in terms of territory and strength. Even if the human tribe and the ancient tribe worked together, they would not be half as strong as the sorcerer tribe." Lin Feng hummed softly. He knew all this. However, Bai Yi suddenly changed his tone and said, "This is because the ancient tribe has a small population. In fact, the ancient tribe's ability to reproduce is very weak. God is fair. The more powerful one is, the harder it is to reproduce," Bai Yi said seriously. "For example, the divine beasts have lost their ability to reproduce. The ancient tribe is the most powerful of the 3 great tribes of the human tribe. They are even stronger than the sorcerer tribe. Every ancient tribe member is born as an enlightened master. They can even inherit the blood of the divine beasts. Their strength is terrifying." Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He was shocked. What he knew was too one-sided. He did not expect the ancient tribe to be so powerful. Their individual strength was even stronger than the sorcerer tribe. "Thank you, Brother Bai." Lin Feng nodded and looked at the valley below. The battle was in full swing. The surging energy and the heat waves were suffocating. According to Bai Yi, every ancient tribe member was born as an enlightened master. Therefore, the ancient tribe member who attacked this time must be a fire-type enlightened master. In fact, he had some connections with the ancient tribe. Lin Feng naturally felt a sense of closeness to fire. Therefore, he had a good impression of the ancient tribe. Or maybe he simply hated the sorcerer tribe. "Brother Bai, do you know the strength of both sides?" Lin Feng's eyes lit up. This was the question he was most concerned about, especially the strength of the Tian Wu sorcerer tribe. Bai Yi hesitated for a while and said, "This question has been discussed in Titanic Crescent City for 3 years. There are many opinions. However, in my opinion, the ancient tribe has the upper hand. Otherwise, the ancient tribe would not have attacked the Tian Wu sorcerer tribe with all their might." Lin Feng nodded. This was more likely. Both sides had been testing each other for 3 years. They knew each other very well. If the ancient tribe dared to fight, it meant that they were more confident. Lin Feng asked, "What is the strongest level of the ancient tribe and the sorcerer tribe?" Bai Li shook his head. I'm not sure, but it said that both sides have a strongest level 9 star C state powerhouse. Star C state, level 9? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He had killed the level 8 star C state, Gomang sorcerer tribe. His chances of winning against the level 9 star C state Tianwu sorcerer tribe might not be high, but he should have a 50% chance. Most importantly, the essence blood of the Tianwu sorcerer tribe was too important to him. With the help of the ancient tribe, this was undoubtedly the best opportunity. Lin Feng's chest rose and fell slightly. His bright eyes flickered with a resolute look. Thank you, Brother Bai. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. This Bai Yi, whom he had just met, had helped him a lot this time. It's nothing, Brother Lin, Brother Lin. Bai Yi smiled. He and Lin Feng felt like old friends at first sight. Heroes knew each other. Since they were close in age, Lin Feng's strength and courage impressed him even more. Brother Lin, you have to be careful. As Bai Yi spoke, Lin Feng stepped forward and walked to the edge of the mountain. Bai Yi was stunned. Brother Lin, what are you doing? Lin Feng smiled and waved his hand. See you, Brother Bai. With that, Bai Yi's eyes widened and his jaw dropped. Lin Feng leaped down like an eagle and dived into the valley. No way. Bai Yi froze on the spot. He was in a daze. That's the battlefield of the ancient tribe and the sorcerer tribe. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Bang! Lin Feng's eyes sparkled with a bright light. It was precisely because of his skill that he was bold. Bai Yi was afraid because he did not have the strength. However, Lin Feng was full of confidence. I can deal with them at star C state level 9. As for their numbers, that's not what I need to worry about. On the contrary, the more, the better. Lin Feng smiled. It was just like the battle between the Fong family and the Liu family in Green Smoke City. What he wanted to do was not to kill all the shamans. Instead, he wanted to selectively hunt them down and help the ancient race. He could attack or retreat. What did he have to worry about? The more sorcerer tribe members there were, the more essence blood he would get. The more he would get, the better. You're unlucky, sorcerer clan. Lin Feng's lips curled into a faint smile as he shot down like a light arrow. Sorry, everyone. I have to end the traditional version. I'll update 2 chapters during this period. Xiao Xiao has finished writing the 23 and 24 episodes of traditional version. She has also finished writing the 25 episode ending. It should end around the 20th. Chapter 544. Whoosh. He could sense the aura. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He could sense more than 1,000 auras. More than half of them were Star C level powerhouses. This was an intense battle. No wonder Bai Yi said that this is a once-in-a-century battle, Lin Feng thought. The closer he got to the valley, the clearer he could feel the intensity of the battle. It was like thunder stirring the earth and waves surging. Wave after wave. It was terrifying. In terms of scale, it might not be as big as the battle between the Fong and Liu families. However, in terms of strength and intensity, it was much better. In comparison, the battle in Green Smoke City was like a fight between children. And the so-called #1 expert of the Liu family, Liu Bu, was much stronger than him here. The ancient and sorcerer tribes were giving it their all. Are those the ancient tribes? Lin Feng stopped in the distance. He could sense the aura completely. If it were any other time, these sorcerer tribes would have rushed up to him and torn him to pieces. But now, who had the time to care about him? Not far away, there was a skinny young man in a red robe. His movement technique was strange. The fireballs in his hands burst and bloomed. The red-robed man fought 2 Tianwu sorcerer tribe members without being at a disadvantage. On the other side, a red-robed man was even more powerful. He fought 3 Tianwu sorcerer tribe members with ease. Although his body was thin and weak, he could advance and retreat freely. Although the 3 Tianwu sorcerer tribe members were very fast and surrounded him from time to time, the red-robed man's flaming shield easily blocked the attacks. He could control the flames with ease. What fine control of the flames! This is a true Star C level heavenly spirit master. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He was shocked. He He was very good at controlling flames, but he was far inferior to these red-robed men. In their hands, the flames were like weapons. No, it was more like a shadow. It was like a part of their body. They could come and go as they pleased. Changing its shape and controlling its strength was as easy as blowing off dust. It was extremely easy. It's just as Bai said. Every ancient tribe member is a natural heavenly god. They are the complete opposite of the shaman tribe. Lin Feng smiled faintly as he stared at the red-robed man not far away. He couldn't help but be impressed by his strength. Although he was only a level 3 cosmic sea state, due to his unique combat techniques, he wasn't at a disadvantage even against a level 4 cosmic sea state of the witch race. And at this moment, a ray of light shot over. The red-robed man looked at Lin Feng, a trace of doubt flashing across his face. Sure enough, it attracted their attention. Lin Feng was not surprised. Facing the red-robed man's gaze, Lin Feng only smiled and nodded. They were different from the sorcerer tribe. Although the ancient tribe was arrogant, they seemed to be superior beings. They might look down on the human tribe, but they would not start a massacre like the sorcerer tribe. The sorcerer tribe did not exist in the 9 great continents, but there were ancient tribes. As long as they were respected, they would not do anything excessive to the human tribe. The ancient race was extremely arrogant. They arrogantly believed that they were the true descendants of humans. Therefore, when they met the shamans who were also proud of their bloodline, there was constant friction between them. The red-robed man turned around and ignored Lin Feng. Indeed, it's not far from what Bai Yi said. Lin Feng smiled faintly. This was what he was confident about. If even the ancient tribe treated him as an enemy, it would be troublesome. Right now, he only needed to be careful of the sorcerer tribe. Lin Feng's qi was not weak. However, the qi of the life soul was not as strong as the human soul. Most importantly, Lin Feng was a human. The ancient tribe and the sorcerer tribe were in the midst of an intense battle. Right now, no one had the time to care about a puny human like Lin Feng. However, this did not mean that Lin Feng was willing to stay calm. In fact, if he only wanted to watch the battle, why would Lin Feng take such a huge risk? Let's begin. Lin Feng's eyes slowly lit up. Right now, he had to seize every second. As soon as he had this thought, in an instant, bang! Not far away, the red-robed man ruthlessly attacked. The violent, explosive power of the flames blasted the 3 Tian Wu shamans apart. The 3-headed and 3-tailed shamans roared madly. One of them was charging at Lin Feng at an extremely fast speed. Good timing. Lin Feng smiled faintly. The nightmare demon's spear was unsheathed. It sounded like the cry of a dragon. The spirit chi of heaven and earth gathered into a white light, causing the red-robed man's eyes to flicker. Die! Lin Feng stabbed out. Faint black mist enveloped Lin Feng. Facing the imminent victory, Lin Feng only casually swung his spear. There was no need for any profound spear technique. With just the purest physical strength, he easily killed a stage 2-star C-state Tian Wu shaman. Bang! Earth energy exploded. Lin Feng's attack was fast and ruthless. He did not hold back at all. His right hand grabbed the essence blood of the Tian Wu shaman and stored it in his bag. At this moment, the death of their comrade infuriated the other 2 Tian Wu shamans. Berserk roars rang out continuously. From the left and right, the 2 Tian Wu shamans attacked Lin Feng from different angles. Then, they charged at Lin Feng. On the other hand, the red-robed man hovered in the air with his eyes gleaming. He looked at Lin Feng thoughtfully, but he didn't seem to have any intention of helping. This was a kind of arrogance. He disdained to join forces with humans. But to Lin Feng, it was perfect. One stage 3-star C state, the other stage 2-star C state. Perfect. Let's test it out. Facing the Tian Wu shaman's attacks, Lin Feng was indifferent. With his current strength, it was too easy to deal with these shamans. Huff, huff, the wind howled. The Tian Wu shamans were extremely good at controlling the wind. Not only could they use the wind to increase their speed and combat power, but they could also use it to affect their opponents. Especially in the air, The wind could create a huge obstacle for the enemy, making it easier for them to use their bodies in battle. But this time, they had miscalculated. This human's control of the wind was not inferior to theirs. Storm Spear Art. Lin Feng's eyes were deep. He waved the Nightmare Demon Spear and instantly gathered a fierce gust of wind. Facing the attack of the Tianwu shamans, not only did he not dodge, but he countered it with an attack, showing his confidence. Childish. The red-robed man's lips curled up coldly. His voice was not loud, but Lin Feng heard it. He was extremely surprised. The ancient race was speaking the human language of the Douling world. The cumbersome shamans are not fighting with guerrilla warfare, but with brute force. A human is a human, stupid to the extreme. In the red-robed man's opinion, with the strength of a human, he dared to fight the shamans head-on. He was simply courting death. This little guy who suddenly joined the battle clearly underestimated the shamans. Stupid to the extreme. However, the outcome was beyond the red-robed man's expectations. Chi. With 2 clean spears, Lin Feng killed 2 Tianwu shamans as if they were vegetables. His movements were as fast as lightning. How was this possible? The red-robed man's eyes widened. The red-robed man stood there in a daze, looking at Lin Feng's back as he left. His face was filled with shock. At this moment, the red-robed youth beside him had already killed his opponent. Yuan, what's wrong? Ming, did you see that just now? The red-robed man, Yuan, asked in surprise. A human martial artist about the same age as us instantly killed 3 level 2 and level 3 Tianwu shamans. The red-robed youth Ming was dazed and laughed. This joke is not funny at all. Yuan, you must be seeing things. As he spoke, he hugged Yuan and continued to fight. Unstoppable. Since it had started, he should not let it stop. Lin Feng was not in a hurry to enter the valley to fight. Instead, he circled the valley and approached step by step. Let's see the situation clearly first. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He was not arrogant and careless because of his strength. Arrogant soldiers were bound to lose. Moreover, the benefits outside the valley were not small either. Chi. 1 man and 1 spear. Lin Feng came and went like a ghost in the darkness. He dealt with those level 2, level 3, and level 4 Tianwu shamans effortlessly. Not a single one of them could block even a single spear. Every time the white light flashed, it would bring about a blood-curdling scream. The shaman race's strength paled in comparison to Lin Feng. The red-robed ancient race experts were all shocked by Lin Feng's strength like Yuan. It completely overturned their impression of the human race. Finally, after Lin Feng killed 5 Tianwu shamans in a row, the ancient race experts could no longer hold back. Who are you? A red-robed old man stood in front of Lin Feng. Behind him, several experts from the ancient clan stood in line, their expressions solemn. It was obvious that this red-robed old man had quite a bit of prestige in the ancient clan. Although he was old, his eyes were still shining brightly, and he was still vigorous despite his age. Senior, junior is Lin Feng. Lin Feng cupped his hands to show respect. This made the ancient race experts feel a little better. The ancient race had a strong sense of superiority and was extremely prideful. The red-robed old man seemed to be very satisfied with Lin Feng's attitude. He stroked his long beard and nodded. This is the battle between my Swanee clan and the Wu clan. Why are you participating in the battle? His tone revealed a faint, overbearing aura, and he spoke in a condescending tone. Lin Feng smiled faintly in his heart, but he did not mind. To him, it was enough as long as he could obtain the essence blood of the Tianwu shaman race. The rest did not matter. The Tianwu shaman race is murderous. They killed millions of my people. Everyone has the right to punish them. Lin Feng's eyes were cold. The sharp light even made the red-robed elder's expression change slightly. Lin Feng's face was full of righteousness. Senior, please allow me to participate in the battle. Junior's strength is limited and may not be of much help, but please allow Junior to do his best. Lin Feng's sincere and righteous attitude satisfied the red-robed elder. Indeed, Lin Feng's strength was recognized by him. Very good. The red-robed elder nodded with a smile and stroked his long beard. With a low hum, the red-robed old man withdrew a red-colored jade pendant from his pocket and raised it high above his head. I, Jia, hereby announce that the human clan's expert, Lin Feng, is temporarily a member of my Swanee clan. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Chapter 545. Elder Jia. Elder Jia. The ancient clansman behind him turned pale with fright. Silence. The red-robed elder Jia's face darkened. Everyone dared not to make a sound. Lin Feng's eyes shone as he pondered. It was obvious that temporarily becoming a member of the Taowu clan was a pretty good identity. At this moment, the red jade pendant shone with a fiery aura. Elder Jia looked at Lin Feng and said seriously, "Give me your left hand." Lin Feng nodded without hesitation. The red-robed elder, known as Elder Jia, had no ill intentions towards him. In an instant, Elder Jia's eyes shone. "Ha!" The red jade pendant shone with a strong fiery light and entered Lin Feng's left palm. A surge of fiery energy bloomed instantly. Lin Feng's eyes shone with surprise. The fiery energy spread throughout his left hand, and the Qilin fire centipede on the back of his hand shone. Like a dragon's roar, a strong fiery energy condensed. The two energies combined at an astonishing speed. The dragon whiskers of the Qilin fire centipede vibrated as if it was hissing. A 3-star spirit practitioner weapon. Elder Jia's eyes darkened, and he was shocked. In his opinion, Lin Feng was a war god. It was extremely funny for him to have a spirit practitioner weapon. It was like a man wearing a woman's clothes. It was neither fish nor fowl. The corner of Elder Jia's mouth twitched. His eyes showed a tinge of heartache, but it was too late for regrets. The red jade pendant and the Qilin fire centipede merged. It did not engulf the Qilin fire centipede because its power was stronger. On the contrary, it was like a river flowing into the sea, filling and expanding it. Finally, there was a change, such a strong fiery energy. The Qilin fire centipede has been upgraded to a whole new level. Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. It was an unexpected gain. Before entering the Douling world, the Qilin fire centipede was considered a decent soul weapon. However, as the flame of rebirth increased in power, the Qilin fire centipede became useless. Now, with the infusion of the red jade pendant, it was as if it was reborn. It has a mysterious aura. If my guess is correct, it should be unique to the Swanee clan. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He had personally witnessed Elder Jia making the red jade pendant glow. It seemed to be a ritual, but it also seemed to have started something. And what could not be concealed was Elder Jia's expression changed. Hua! The back of his left hand shone with a rich luster. Lin Feng's eyes brightened as he saw that the Qilin fire centipede on the back of his hand had completed its transformation. However, it was different from before. The dragon head had actually transformed into the appearance of a strange beast. It looked extremely similar to a dragon, but it also didn't look like one. However, it was filled with a dense flame energy, revealing its extraordinary strength. All right, human Lin Feng, you may enter the valley now. Elder Jia's expression was slightly unsightly, and his hoarse voice was extremely low. With the Swanee shadow, the experts of my Swanee clan will know your identity and will not mistakenly kill you. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, but he secretly felt lucky. According to what Elder Jia said, if he had recklessly charged into the valley just now, then he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to please either side. It was different now. Now I can justifiably kill the Tian Wu clan. The valley seems to be more interesting. Lin Feng pondered. The spirit energy in the valley was dense. Although he could not sense it clearly, his intuition told him that there were stronger and more prey there. Thank you, Senior. Lin Feng cupped his hands in thanks. This time, it was from the bottom of his heart. It was to express his gratitude. Go. Elder Jie waved his hand, his expression slightly ugly. Outside the valley, the Tianwu clan was completely defeated. Because of Lin Feng's participation, the situation had completely changed. Facing the Tianwu clan that was retreating in defeat, Lin Feng sped past. He did not want to be involved in the battle, so as to not offend the ancient clan. Most importantly, the spirit energy in the valley exploded. The intensity of the battle was far beyond imagination. Tianwu clan, I'm coming. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. His blood was boiling. Like a shooting star, Lin Feng's expression turned serious. He sensed that the spirit energy was getting stronger and stronger. The aura of many powerful beings entered his heart, making him feel a little wary. But now, since it had begun, he would not stop. If he was alone, it would be difficult for him to fight. But that was not the case. Whoosh! He penetrated through a mist. His eyes suddenly lit up. The feeling of spirit energy densely covered his body. This was like another world. And now, it was being slaughtered by the war. Clang! Bang! Boom! The sound of battle could be heard everywhere, mixed with the roars of the sorcerer clan and the loud and clear shouts of the ancient clan. The eruption of flames and the howling of the wind formed a resonance. In this place full of spirit energy, it was as if a natural disaster had descended. In terms of the number of people fighting, it was far less than outside the valley. However, the quality of the battle and the strength of the powerful beings participating in the battle were far superior. The weakest was a level 4-star sea state. Almost all of them were level 5 to level 7-star sea states. Fight in pairs. Hiss! Lin Feng took a deep breath, and his eyes lit up. The scale of the battle here could be called truly powerful. He thought that the outside of the valley was already surging enough, but he didn't expect the aura here to be even more majestic. A battle between true powerful beings. It's a tie. No, the sorcerer clan has a slight advantage. Lin Feng quickly understood the situation, and his heart trembled. The sorcerer clan had almost twice the number of the ancient clan, and they had the geographical advantage. Most importantly, in the battle between the sorcerer clan and the ancient clan, the sorcerer clan had a slight advantage over the ancient clan. It's indeed a level 9-star sea state. Lin Feng's eyes turned cold as he glanced at the center of the valley. That was the center of the battle between the two clans. The surging airwaves made it difficult for people to get close. An abnormally strong Tianwu sorcerer clan member was fighting with a thin man in a red robe. The red-robed man held a fire sword in one hand and a fireball in the other. He fought and retreated with a serious expression. Level 8-star sea state. Lin Feng understood. Although the ancient clan was stronger than the sorcerer clan at the same level, this didn't mean everything. Moreover, the red-robed man's strength was a full level lower. The difference of one level was huge. Guerrilla warfare requires a lot of stamina. The two of them have been fighting for a long time, and the ancient clan powerhouse seems to be unable to hold on. Lin Feng thought about it, but didn't intend to help. Perhaps he was a member of the Taowu clan in name, but in reality, that wasn't the case. As the strongest member of the Taowu clan, he should still have trump cards that he hasn't used yet. I'll help him when he's really unable to hold on. Lin Feng made up his mind and didn't think too much about it. Every man for himself. The devil takes the hindmost. Moreover, he wasn't related to the Taowu clan. Helping him was a favor, but not helping him was reasonable. Moreover, he wasn't 100% confident against the level 9-star sea state Tianwu sorcerer clan member. He was very strong. Instead of fighting head-on, why don't I'll pick the weaker one first. Lin Feng's lips curled up as he sped forward. It's you. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. His first target was a level 5-star sea state sorcerer clan member. At this moment, this sorcerer clan member had teamed up with his companion and almost forced an ancient clan powerhouse into a desperate situation. That ancient clan powerhouse's face was red as he desperately tried to block, but his flame shield couldn't stop the two Tianwu sorcerer clan members. As gusts of wind blew, that ancient clan powerhouse spat out blood and retreated. He was about to die in the hands of the Tian Wu sorcerer clan. Suddenly, the weather changed. Chi, 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 chi. As a black mist appeared, the nightmare demon spear's fiery red body suddenly blossomed. Lin Feng's figure appeared like a ghost. Milky white energy condensed from his body's explosive power and shot out from the back of the Tian Wu sorcerer clan member. Bang! The energy exploded. The Tian Wu sorcerer clan member opened his mouth and wanted to make a sound, but he couldn't. One fatal blow. He didn't expect to be ambushed to death. A human martial artist? The ancient clan powerhouse stared dazedly at Lin Feng. He was in disbelief when he saw the fiery red shadow behind him. However, the truth was right in front of him. The other Tian Wu sorcerer clan member saw his companion die and roared hysterically. He immediately gave up on the ancient clan powerhouse and attacked Lin Feng. Careful! The experts from the ancient races hurriedly called out. However, they only saw Lin Feng's faintly discernible smile, as well as a raging wind and thunder. Seeing this black-clothed youth kill the Tian Wu sorcerer clan member like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, the ancient clan powerhouse gaped for a long time. This was a human martial artist? So this is the Bayan Shadow. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. When he used the spear art, a strange beast appeared on his left hand. Its flame power was extremely powerful. Qi followed his heart and appeared in his hand. My left hand seems to be burning. Both the spear's speed and power have increased sharply. This Bayan Shadow is quite powerful. There seems to be a special flame power. If I'm not wrong, I should be able to control it. Lin Feng nodded slightly, feeling a little excited. The Bayan Shadow that he had obtained inexplicably had increased his strength by another level. Continue. Lin Feng tightened his grip on the nightmare demon spear. Behind him, the ancient clan powerhouse looked at him in shock. However, he was already used to it. Bang! An intense flame shot out. The tip of the spear rose with a strong flame power. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with excitement. The strange beast on his left hand seemed to have come alive. The flame it spat out was filled with a violent and powerful aura. A Tian Wu sorcerer clan member was burned to ashes as if he had been bitten by the strange beast. He died without a complete corpse. It was quite a miserable scene. This is the true appearance of the Bayan Shadow. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. Such a powerful flame power. It has considerable offensive power. It's even stronger than my flame of rebirth. Lin Feng nodded, feeling excited. Perhaps in terms of grade, this flame power was far inferior to the flame of rebirth and the flame of devouring. However, the two flames he controlled were stuck at the Star River level. They were stuck at the bottleneck and could not break through. However, this Bayan Shadow was a real Star C level power. It's almost equivalent to a Star C level 6 power. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. It was similar to the power that Wing had displayed in the chaotic swamp that day. Interesting. Lin Feng's lips curled up. He had inadvertently obtained something good. There are 2 more chapters. Chapter 546. Fight again. Lin Feng's appearance was like a tiger entering a flock of sheep. He activated the Tao Wu shadow. Not only did a faint flame appear on his left hand, but a strange beast also appeared behind him. It was a monster whose body was covered in thick flames. Fiery red scales covered its entire body, making it look extraordinarily mighty. It had a dragon-shaped body and no horns. It looked like a dragon, but it was not a dragon. It looked like a flood dragon, but it was not a flood dragon. It had 8 claws and a strong body. The ancient race experts were all stunned. Just as Elder Jia had said, they all treated Lin Feng as one of their own, because this was the Tao Wu tribe's guardian beast, the scarlet pheasant. Virtual image. How is this possible? A puny human can actually form the virtual image of the scarlet pheasant. The ancient race experts were all dumbfounded, but they did not have the time to hesitate. The battle with the Tian Wu tribe was in full swing. No one dared to be distracted. All kinds of voices fell into Lin Feng's ears. Although he was puzzled, Lin Feng attacked like a storm. Whether it was the storm spear art or the 9 Flood Dragon Spear Art. Killing the Tianwu tribe was as easy as cutting grass. Drop by drop, the blood essence fell into his pocket. Lin Feng's lips curled into a satisfied smile. To him, this time, he had really made a huge profit. With the ancient race restraining the ancient race experts, the killing efficiency was much higher than in Wind Valley. In a short period of time, the amount and quality of the blood essence he obtained had surpassed what he had obtained that day. Lin Feng killed to his heart's content. The ancient race experts were even more stunned. Their physical strength was far inferior to that of the Wu tribe. When the ancient race experts fought with the Wu tribe, they mainly fought with agility and waited for an opportunity to attack. Compared to Lin Feng, their efficiency was not on the same level. Very quickly, the battle in the valley had undergone an earth-shattering change. The Tian Wu tribe, who originally had the absolute advantage, fell into a disadvantage as their numbers decreased. Their angry shouts were completely covered by the explosion of flames. Hiss! The strongest Tian Wu tribe expert, who was close to 10 meters tall, attacked crazily. He wasn't blind, so he naturally sensed that his side was at a disadvantage. He roared repeatedly, but he just happened to be restrained by his opponent and was unable to leave. The Star Sea State Level 9 Tian Wu, which race couldn't hide their power anymore, and launched their most ferocious attacks at the opponent. The Level 8 Cosmic State Ancient Race also gritted their teeth and used all their power to defend. As the leader of the Hornless race, he absolutely could not be defeated. The two of them engaged in a fierce battle. Looks like he's starting to use his real skills. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Although they were constantly fighting, they could clearly sense each other's auras. As his people died one by one, the Level 9 Tian Wu, which race couldn't hold back anymore. That was exactly what he wanted. Let's fight. The fiercer the fight, the better. Lin Feng's lips curled into a sly smile. The reason why he had stayed away from the center of the battle was to avoid the strongest member of the Tian Wu shaman tribe and avoid getting caught in the crossfire. The nightmare demon spear in his hand pulled and slashed, and milky white energy accompanied by surging flames. In an instant, an extremely intense explosion sounded. Not far away, the ancient race powerhouse widened his eyes in shock. Slap! Lin Feng grabbed the blood essence with one hand. His expression was as calm as a speck of dust, without the slightest ripple. From the moment he attacked to the end, not even a second had passed, and a level 6-star sea state level Tian Wu, which race had died in his hands. Although the spirit chi here is better than the Wind Valley, but without the Wind Stone, the Tian Wu which race can't unleash their strongest power. Lin Feng smiled faintly and didn't feel any pressure. Just like how the Tian Wu witch race was best at speed, he was also best at speed, using his strength to counter the enemy's strength. 81st drop. Lin Feng's left hand clenched, and his eyes lit up. His harvest far exceeded the battle in the Wind Valley. The Tian Wu witch race was completely defeated, whether it was outside the valley or inside the valley. Originally, this might have been an evenly matched battle, but because of Lin Feng's appearance, everything changed. As the witch race members died one by one, the remaining level 9-star sea state level Tian Wu, which race couldn't resist at all. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't stop the numerous ancient race powerhouses. The attacks came one after another. Although the ancient race experts were arrogant, they didn't have the same misgivings as their fellow clansmen. Using the power of a crowd against a level 9-star sea state level Tian Wu, which race, they erupted with shocking power. How terrifying! Lin Feng floated in the air, his eyes glittering. The power of the ancient race's flames could be stacked. In other words, 2 level 7 ancient race powerhouses could erupt with level 8-star sea state power. 8 level 6 ancient race powerhouses could erupt with level 9-star sea state power. Every martial artist chi was different, so the rhythm of their attacks was different. Human martial artists could only unleash such power if they had worked together for an extremely long time and had reached the point where their hearts were connected. But the ancient race seemed to be of the same origin. They could fuse their attacks together. How shocking was this? Amazing. In terms of individual power, the ancient race is definitely the strongest among the three races. E is right. If the ancient race has enough people, the witch race won't be able to stand up to them. Lin Feng thought. He truly understood the power of the ancient race in this battle. With less than half of the sorcerer tribe's numbers, the sorcerer tribe had the geographical advantage. The sorcerer tribe and the sorcerer tribe were locked in a stalemate. Even if he didn't participate in this battle, the chances of both sides winning were 50-50. Rumble. Rumble. The power of the flames was insane. Looking at the leader of the Tianwu shaman tribe, who was in a sorry state and bleeding profusely, Lin Feng sighed in his heart. He was dead for sure. Perhaps in terms of individual power, no one, including me, can beat him in a one-on-one battle. But two fists can't beat four hands. The combined power of the ancient race powerhouses is indeed terrifying to the extreme. Lin Feng felt it was a pity. To be honest, he wanted to have a good fight with the leader of the Tianwu witch race. But the timing wasn't right. What a pity about the essence blood. That's a rank 9-star C state. Lin Feng's eyes showed a hint of reluctance, but there was nothing he could do. If he joined the battle now to snatch the essence blood, it would be a despicable act. Forget it. I'll stop while I'm ahead. I've obtained 99 drops of essence blood in this battle. It's enough for me to absorb. By then, my power will definitely reach a higher level. Lin Feng clenched his fists. He was already very satisfied. Compared to the battle in Wind Valley, his gains were more than double. Suddenly, roar, roar. The leader of the Tianwu witch race, who was besieged, roared. His body expanded violently, and a shocking aura suddenly bloomed. The booming power caused the entire valley to shake as if it was collapsing. The surging power was shocking. Huh? Lin Feng was stunned. It feels like an explosion of astral power. This guy seems to be going crazy. Lin Feng murmured, but he didn't want to get involved. After thinking for a while, he shifted his body slightly and immediately retreated. It had nothing to do with him. He would avoid it if he could. Let's do it here. Lin Feng retreated to a place where there was no one. There were no ancient race experts around, so he was happy to be free. Now that the situation had been decided, even though he could leave, he still had to greet the ancient clan experts who had fought alongside him. Let's wait a little longer, Lin Feng thought. Suddenly, boom, there was an earth-shattering sound. Lin Feng's eyes flashed with shock. It was like the power of a violent wind was crazily tearing apart. Gusts of wind that were comparable to the strongest wind in Wind Valley spread in all directions. The strength of the wind was so strong that it was tongue-tied. The entire valley seemed to have been blown into pieces, and the airflow was extremely chaotic. Fortunately, I dodged quickly. How can I survive if I'm at the center of the explosion? Lin Feng felt a chill down his spine. He felt lucky. If a man's heart was not content, he would probably be buried here. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled, and he was secretly vigilant. The first time was unfamiliar, but the second time was familiar. The next time they met, he would know how to deal with it. I didn't expect the Tianwu sorcerer tribe to have such a move. The ancient race experts have suffered a great loss this time. Lin Feng sighed softly, but he did not pay too much attention to it. After all, he was not related to the ancient race experts. Moreover, how could there be no deaths in a war? If he had not participated, the ancient race would have lost even more people. Suddenly, Lin Feng's expression changed slightly, and his eyes widened. He saw an extremely mini Tianwu sorcerer tribe member flying toward him. Its aura was relatively weak. If he did not sense it carefully, he would not even be able to sense its existence. This is... Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. At this moment, the mini Tianwu sorcerer tribe member also saw Lin Feng. Its face was filled with fear, and it was so frightened that it wanted to turn and run. However, since he had encountered him, how could he run away? Swoosh! Lin Feng's speed was extremely fast. His right hand grabbed the air, and in an instant, the mini Tian Wu sorcerer tribe member was caught in his hand. Oh! Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. What a rich energy aura and astral power. Lin Feng was amazed. Holding the mini Tian Wu sorcerer tribe member in his hand, he felt as if he was holding a piece of jade filled with energy. He could not sense its aura. It was like a storage ring, but he could feel it when he touched it. The blood essence he had just obtained paled in comparison to this mini Tian Wu sorcerer tribe member. There was no comparison at all. What pure energy! Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he was pleasantly surprised. He looked at the place where the violent explosion had occurred. At this moment, there were miserable groans and angry shouts. The ancient race experts were already fuming with anger. In their hearts, they immediately understood. Consider yourself unlucky. There are so many paths, but you just had to send yourself to me. Lin Feng smiled faintly. He looked at the small thing in his hand, which was struggling with all its might. There was no mercy in his eyes. Pah! His power exploded, and in an instant, the last wisp of vitality of the Tian Wu sorcerer tribe member was wiped out. The mini Tian Wu sorcerer tribe member in his hand instantly changed. Like flowing water or sand, it slowly gathered into a drop of blood essence. The bright blood essence with a faint luster condensed into a powerful force. Its greenish-yellow color was like a bright lamp. Feeling the surging power, Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. After going around in circles, it still ended up in my hands. This time, I've really struck gold. Lin Feng smiled valiantly. Chapter 547. The battle was over, but the entire valley was still buzzing with activity. He can't have escaped far, Search. Don't let go of any small area. Chase, we can't let him escape. Angry shouts came one after another. In the valley, the Swan Wu clan's elites shuttled back and forth, looking around with serious expressions. Lin Feng stood calmly in the air, looking at the crowd thoughtfully, but did not participate. After all, he was not a member of the Swan Wu clan. According to Elder Jie's words, he was only a member temporarily. Now that the battle with the witch tribe was over, this was temporarily over, and he had nothing to do with the Swan Wu clan. Just like mercenaries, they would go their separate ways after completing their mission. Most importantly, they would never find what they were looking for. If my guess is correct, it should be this drop of essence blood that fell into my pocket. Lin Feng thought for a moment, but his expression did not change at all. Too much joy, anger, sorrow, and joy flowing out of his mouth would make the Swan Wu clan's elite suspicious. If he left, it would be even more obvious that he had a guilty conscience. It was better to stay still and wait slowly. Sun Mi repeated over and over again. From time to time, angry voices could be heard, but Lin Feng turned a deaf ear to them. And at this moment, so you're here, Lin Feng. Elder Jie stroked his long beard and floated in the air. Hello, senior. Lin Feng bowed slightly. All right, have you seen Tian Yi's essence? Elder Jie's eyes flashed, staring straight at Lin Feng, as if he wanted to see the change in Lin Feng's expression from his eyes. However, he was disappointed. Lin Feng's eyes were pitch black and deep, without the slightest fluctuation. Tian Yi? Essence? Lin Feng was surprised. What is that? Elder Jie stared at Lin Feng, his old eyes suddenly shooting a sharp light straight into Lin Feng's eyes. Bang! Lin Feng felt the phoenix natal plate shake, and his expression changed slightly. However, Elder Jie had already covered his chest with his hand and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was extremely pale and unsightly. Is this how your Bayan clan repays kindness with enmity? Lin Feng's eyes burned fiercely as he stared straight at Elder Jie, his voice filled with anger. Who could tolerate this? What could not be tolerated? Having cultivated the techniques of a heavenly soul master, how could he not know what Elder Jie had done earlier? If not for the fact that his life spirit and mortal soul were strong enough, he would have been in deep trouble. Being polite didn't mean that he had to be patient. In an instant, whoosh, 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 A few red silhouettes sped up and landed behind Elder Jia. Seeing that there was a dispute, the people of the Tao Wu tribe immediately came to help. How dare you? Human, how dare you? Huh? They were already angry that they couldn't find the profound qi. How could they restrain their anger in the face of a mere human's provocation? But bang! The Bayan Devil Spear was instantly unsheathed. A surging murderous aura instantly filled the air. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with coldness. Compared to his courteous and respectful appearance just now, it was as if he was a completely different person. A strong aura surrounded him, and the shadow of a Bayan flashed behind him. The shocking aura was filled with vigor and exuberance, causing the expressions of the experts of the Tao Wu tribe to change. They felt a chill in their hearts as they were intimidated by Lin Feng's aura. Don't think that we humans are easy to bully. If you provoke me, I'll let you die in the same way that the Tian Wu tribe died. Lin Feng said coldly, not caring about the current situation at all. If he were to be bullied and swallow his anger, he would not be a man. The faces of the Bayan Qi clan were extremely ugly. At this moment, they finally remembered how strong this human was. In this battle, countless members of the Tian Wu tribe had died in his hands. Almost all of them were killed in one move. His strength was suffocating. Even if he was a human, he was a perverted human. It's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Elder Jia smiled embarrassedly as he tried to smooth things over. Lin Feng's strength was a mystery, and Elder Jia did not want the Bayan Qi clan that was heavily injured to suffer another calamity. Even if they could kill him, the Bayan Qi clan would have to pay a high price. Was it worth it? Lin Feng's eyes flashed with a bright light as he looked straight at Elder Jia. It doesn't matter if it's a misunderstanding or not. The battle is over. I'll take my leave now. Goodbye. After he finished speaking, Lin Feng's expression was icy cold as he turned around and left without waiting for anyone to react. If it wasn't necessary, he didn't want to start a war with the Bayan Qi clan as well. Even a skinny man had some flesh, so it wasn't a wise choice to fight with the Bayan Qi clan. Huh? Elder Jia's expression changed repeatedly as he was slightly surprised. But the strike from the hidden battle with Lin Feng earlier had struck deep into his heart, so he didn't dare to stop it as he was afraid that it would agitate Lin Feng again. At that time, things would get out of hand. Right at this moment, little brother, please wait. A deep and dignified voice suddenly sounded. Lin Feng frowned slightly as he sighed in his heart. It didn't seem so easy for him to leave. Clan leader, the Bayan Qi clan members called out respectfully. Who taught you to treat a guest like this? The voice was low and angry, and it carried extreme pressure that seemed to freeze the air. It was a skinny man in a red robe with a cold expression. It was the ancient race elite from the Star Sea State, just now. Everyone kept quiet out of fear and didn't dare to make a sound. Why aren't you apologizing? The skinny man's voice suddenly became louder as he suppressed his anger. So sorry. Sorry. The Bayan Qi clan members' expressions were ugly. Although they were extremely unwilling, they had to lower their prideful heads. Any ancient race's system was extremely strict. The clan leader's order was supreme. The skinny man flicked his sleeves and said coldly, "Leave." Everyone felt as if they had been granted amnesty. They breathed a sigh of relief and quickly left. Hello, clan leader. Lin Feng saluted with his hands. Although he knew that the clan leader of the Bai and Qi clan purposely came here just now, he couldn't refuse. No matter what, a grown man couldn't be so petty. Hello, my name is Byron. The skinny man smiled and reached out his right hand. Lin Feng shook his hand and looked indifferently at Byron. Byron's face was still a bit pale. Clearly, he was quite injured. However, to be able to stand in front of him and scathe was enough to show his strength. I apologize on behalf of my clansman, little brother. Black Blade smiled apologetically. Clan leader is too polite. It's just a misunderstanding. Lin Feng's heart trembled. He had deeply experienced the pride of the ancient race, but this Byron was like a spring breeze. He couldn't feel any pride at all. However, The more it was like this, the more dangerous it was. Thank you for your help just now. Otherwise, my Chi clan wouldn't have won this battle so easily. Byron smiled with confidence. Lin Feng immediately understood. Obviously, Byron still had a trump card. Just as Bai said, if he didn't have a certain amount of confidence, how would the ancient race dare to attack the witch clan's lair? What a pity! Byron's tone suddenly changed. Lin Feng's heart trembled slightly, but his expression didn't change at all. After going around in circles, Byron still returned to his original point. Tian-E exploded his body, and the remaining consciousness escaped into the essence Qi. Byron shook his head and sighed. I'm afraid there will be endless trouble. Lin Feng also understood at this moment. Obviously, the rank 9 Star Sea realm, which clan member who died just now was called Tian, and what he absorbed was essence Qi. To my Bai Chi clan, essence Qi is useless. Bai Ren's expression was serious. His eyes lit up, and he said seriously, I'm afraid that Tian-E will escape and bring reinforcements. At that time, my Bai Chi clan will be in big trouble. I'll have to trouble little brother to help me find out. If there's any news, my Bai Chi clan will reward you heavily. Bai Ren's tone and words were flawless. Adding on the previous act, it was deeply rooted in people's hearts. But if Elder Jie didn't act just now, I'm afraid I would really fall for his trick. Lin Feng's heart trembled. This Bai Ren was indeed worthy of being the leader of a clan. His strength, guts, and schemes were not lacking at all. If he really foolishly believed him, he was afraid. At that time, a bloody battle would be unavoidable. I understand. Lin Feng nodded. His expression didn't change, and he cupped his hands. Once there's news, I will immediately inform clan leader Bai. A light flashed across Bai Ren's eyes, revealing some disappointment. In reality, he was indeed testing Lin Feng, and whether Tian-Yi's essence Qi was in Lin Feng's hands was an unknown. This was all he could do. As the clan leader, there were many things he had to see through. He was very clear that the Lin Feng in front of him couldn't be offended. Good. Bai Ren smiled. This listening wind valley will be the new residence of my Bai clan. If little brother is interested, you can come visit at any time. My Bai clan will definitely treat you as a guest and welcome you. Clan leader Bai is too courteous. Lin Feng smiled. Although these were just polite words, it was obvious that Byron already believed him. This was the most important point. It meant that the essence Qi was in his pocket. There was no need to start a war with the Bai clan. Lin Feng was very clear that if they really fought, both sides would suffer. The current situation was the best outcome. If there's nothing else, clan leader Bai, I will take my leave first. Lin Feng cupped his hands. Good. Bai Ren smiled. Send my regards to clan leader. Lin Feng was startled. Clan leader Bai, you misunderstand. Lin Feng is alone and doesn't have any clan. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Little brother, don't joke around. Blackblade blinked his eyes and said calmly, although I am not strong, I at least have some experience. Little brother, although you hit it well and only use my Bayan fire, your Bayan body is real and belongs to a branch of the Bayan ancient clan. A branch of the Bayan ancient clan? Lin Feng was stunned. Lin Feng's mind raced, and he suddenly understood. It must be because he had absorbed the phoenix's blood, which caused the glaive to misunderstand. However, from what Byron said, it seemed that the ancient clan and the divine beast had a very close relationship. After pondering for a while, Lin Feng didn't say too much. He only smiled and shook his head. Clan leader Bai, you misunderstand. This junior is not an ancient clan, but a human. In an instant, ha 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 ha, Byron couldn't stop laughing. Little brother, your impersonation is really good. However, have you forgotten that the ancient clan and the human clan have different physiques? Other than the ancient clan, the divine beast blood can't be fused with the human clan or the sorcerer clan. Mi Ren's laughter still reverberated in Lin Feng's ears, but Lin Feng was already completely stunned. It can't be? The human clan couldn't fuse with the divine beast blood? Chapter 548. It was like a bolt from the blue. All along, his background had been a mystery. From the Lin village to the revelation that his father was from the Lin clan. But now there was such a change. If I'm from the ancient race, doesn't that mean father is also from the ancient race? Lin Feng frowned and immediately rejected the idea. That's not right. Father is from the Lin clan. He's 100% human. The moment he rejected the idea, Lin Feng's eyes widened and his heartbeat quickened. If the blood of the ancient race really flows in my body, there's only one possibility. Pursing his lips, Lin Feng forcefully suppressed his emotions and turned to look at Mingren. Patriarch Ming, can I ask you a question? Mingren smiled. Little brother, please speak. It gave off a refreshing feeling. Lin Feng finally understood why Mingren, the patriarch of the Swanee clan, who should be more arrogant than most of the ancient race, was so polite to him. It wasn't because he had helped the Swanee clan. This could be seen from Elder Jie's attitude towards him. It was because Mingren thought that he was from the ancient race. Staring at Mingren, Lin Feng asked in a deep voice, Patriarch, may I ask if the ancient race and the human race can intermarry? Mingren was startled. His eyes glinted and he snorted. How can a lowly human be worthy of the noble bloodline of the ancient race? Looking at Lin Feng, Mingren seemed to understand something and said seriously, in order to maintain the purity of the bloodline and make the future generations more outstanding, little brother, you must not make a mistake. His words were sincere and heartfelt like a loving father. Lin Feng suddenly understood. Mingren thought that he had fallen in love with a human girl. But Mingren didn't reject this possibility. Lin Feng was greatly shocked. This was a crucial point. Whether he could do it or not, and whether it was good or not were two different things. If what Mingren said is true, and I have indeed fused with the phoenix blood, then I might really have part of the ancient race's blood flowing in my body. Lin Feng gradually regained his composure, and the thoughts in his mind gradually calmed down. First of all, the most important thing is to confirm this possibility. Can the human race fuse with the phoenix blood? If it's true, then my biological mother is very likely to be like what Blackblade said. It's a branch of the South Phoenix clan. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and he unconsciously clenched his right fist. Regardless of whether he was from the human race or the ancient race, none of that mattered. Most importantly, perhaps he could use this to find clues about his biological mother. Furthermore, he had a faint feeling that his father had never mentioned anything about his mother. Adding on the fact that his father had been heavily injured and had fled to the Martial Heaven continent, there seemed to be a thread connecting them. Very likely, it was because of his mother's identity. Thank you, clan leader Ji. Lin Feng cupped his hands and said sincerely. This time, it was a sincere gratitude. There was no other meaning. If it wasn't for Mystic Blade's reminder, perhaps he wouldn't have discovered the secret hidden in his body. It was too crucial. Little brother is too courteous. Knowing one's mistake is the greatest thing. Mystic Blade smiled, his eyes flashing with a faint arrogance. Our ancient race has the noblest bloodline of the human race. How can we marry those lowly humans? That is equivalent to personally destroying the talent bestowed upon us by the heavens. It cannot be done. Lin Feng smiled indifferently, neither agreeing nor refuting. The ancient race's arrogance had been there for a long time, and he couldn't change them with just a few words. Thus, why waste his breath? After bidding farewell to Mystic Blade, Lin Feng left. Perhaps the Listening Wind Valley had rich spiritual energy, or perhaps the Listening Wind Valley hid a huge secret, causing the Swan and I clan to use all their strength to fight for it, even if they had to exhaust the entire clan's strength. But these were none of his business. In fact, it would be difficult for him to obtain any benefits from the Swan and I clan, unless he killed them all. But that was obviously unrealistic. Although he didn't have a good impression of the Swan and I clan, he wouldn't slap a smiling face. It wasn't to the point where they would fight to the death. Unlike the Sorcerer clan, every time they saw him, they would only attack him. That feeling was like the feeling of meeting a demonic beast in the Sky Martial continent, where they wouldn't stop until they were dead. Although there were twists and turns, overall, everything went smoothly. Lin Feng smiled, including the so-called profound qi at the end. No more, no less, a total of 100 drops of blood essence. This time I've earned enough. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and the corner of his mouth raised into a smile. Although the journey out of Green Smoke City was peaceful, and he didn't have much harvest, but this time it was enough for him to take everything. Not long after Lin Feng left the Listening Wind Valley. Not good, Patriarch. Something big has happened. Elder Jia rushed over with a face full of shock, his face filled with nervousness. What's the matter? Mystic Blade placed his hands behind his back, his eyes deep. Elder Jia clenched his teeth and said softly, "In a Listening Wind Spirit Cave, the 9-star immortal fruit, Enigma, that is about to evolve. What did you say?" Mystic Blade's eyes widened. His aura was astonishing. Elder Jia's face paled, and he said with a trembling voice, "No, it's gone." In that instant, whoosh, raising his speed to the maximum, Mystic Blade flew quickly, his eyes filled with urgency and shock, clenching his teeth. Although the Listening Wind Valley was big, Mystic Blade's speed was even more terrifying. In the blink of an eye, he entered the Listening Wind Spirit Cave and arrived at the deepest part of the Spirit Cave, the place where the spirit qi was extremely dense. In this place that seemed to be surrounded by immortal energy, there was only a bunch of unremarkable grass roots left. It was as if someone had forcibly plucked them all away. Clang! Mystic Blade's face was filled with shock, and he staggered back. "Impossible, impossible!" Mystic Blade muttered to himself, his eyes filled with disbelief. Suddenly turning his head, he pressed down on Elder Jia's shoulder, his eyes filled with anger. "Tell me, this is not true. There should still be a full 10 days before the Enigma Ascension." "Yes, that's right, Patriarch." The corner of Elder Jia's mouth twitched, his face unsightly, but he did not continue speaking, as Elder Jia did not want to agitate Mystic Blade anymore. Mystic Blade himself knew the answer, but it was hard for him to face reality. Boom! Boom! The flames condensed in his hands wildly exploded. Mystic Blade's face was malevolent, and he was so angry that he almost lost his mind. He roared again and again, "Bastard Tian, you actually dared to waste a heavenly treasure like this, directly swallowing the enigma that was about to ascend. Bastard! No wonder his strength soared so much." Mystic Blade's chest heaved up and down, his complexion alternating between green and white. Anger attacked his heart, causing his already heavy injuries to worsen. But no matter how hurt he was, it could not compare to the anger of his heart being hurt. "What I want is the enigma. What's the use of leaving me an empty, Listening Wind Valley?" Mystic Blade's face was distorted, and he roared crazily. This battle lasted for a full 3 years, and the Swan and Eye clan suffered heavy casualties. But what did they get in return? An empty joy. Mystic Blade's face was haggard, and his expression was blank. Suddenly, a strong light flashed in his eyes, and he looked at Elder Jia. "Mobilize the entire clan's strength, with Listening Wind Valley as the center. Carpet search 1,000 li, 10,000 li radius. You must find the essence of this bastard Tian E. Although the enigma has yet to ascend, it is still a 9-star immortal fruit, and its energy is extremely abundant. It is definitely not something he can completely absorb in 2 or 3 days. I will definitely not let this old bastard go." Mystic Blade clenched his fists and gnashed his teeth. Rumble! The flames of anger exploded. But he was just venting. Could it still be found? The answer was obviously no. Since it had fallen into Lin Feng's pocket, it was undoubtedly a fantasy to take it back. In fact, when the Swan and Eye clan was conducting a large-scale search, Lin Feng and Qin Xianqian had already left without a trace. "Lindigo, why did we leave in such a hurry?" Qin Xianqian asked in surprise. "No one to stop. We can't stay here for long." Lin Feng smiled faintly and did not tell Xianqian. There were many things that only he knew, and there was no need to report everything. However, there was no need to worry Qian. The longer they stayed here, the greater the trouble. As for absorbing and refining the essence blood, anywhere was fine. Oh, Qian nodded obediently, but did not ask any more questions. Looking at Lin Feng, her heart felt warm. To her, as long as Lin Feng was safe, that was enough. What was the point of thinking so much about other things? Fall into the pit. Learn from your mistakes. After setting off again, Lin Feng was no longer a loss. Yanling Manor was huge, and there were more than thousands of places with spirit qi. With a target, it was undoubtedly much easier to search. Lindigo, have you really decided? Qian bit her lips lightly, her beautiful eyes filled with reluctance. Yes, I'm not in a hurry to join Fierce Yan's sect. Lin Feng smiled faintly. He had been thinking along the way, and now he finally had an answer. Perhaps there were many benefits to joining Fierce Yan's sect, but now was not the best time. What he needed most now was enough money. Increasing the strength of the god of war, the efficiency of absorbing star stones is much better than the star condensation technique. And most importantly, buying the wood spirit heart requires a considerable amount of money. Lin Feng's thoughts were very clear. Right now, what he needed was not a sect or a backer. However, he had a half-year agreement with Senior Sima Su. No matter what he decided, he should at least inform him. That was basic morality. All right, Qian smiled faintly. She knew in her heart that no one could change Lin Feng's decision. In fact, even if Lin Feng couldn't become her junior brother, their relationship wouldn't change at all. That was enough. 3 days later. My luck is not bad. Lin Feng stepped on a patch of green grass and smiled faintly. Wow, Lindigo, you're so powerful. Qian's beautiful eyes sparkled as she covered her mouth in disbelief. This was originally a tribe of the Gomang shaman tribe, and there were more than 60 of them. The strongest Gomang shaman tribe was even at Star C level 7, but in just an hour they were all killed. As for Big Brother Lin, he was not injured at all. Let's stay here. Lin Feng looked at Qian and smiled. Huh? Qian was startled. The spirit qi and environment here are not bad. Let's stay here for a while. Lin Feng nodded lightly. He had always wanted to find a quiet place to refine the essence blood, and now he finally had the chance. Qian hesitated slightly. The half-year agreement was getting closer and closer. Her master had set this time because half a year later would be the time when Fierce Yan's sect would recruit inner disciples once every 5 years. But now, since Lindigo had no intention of joining Fierce Yan's sect, it was naturally not important. All right, Qian smiled sweetly. To her, the happiest thing was to be together with Lin Feng and enjoy their two-person world. Even if Lin Feng only cultivated every day, as long as she could be by his side, she would be satisfied. Chapter 549. Lin Feng settled down for the time being. 100 drops of Tian Wu, which races essence blood, was a great temptation. It could raise his body's basic attributes to an extremely high level. There's still more than a month. It should be enough. Lin Feng nodded, his eyes glowing. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled as he took out the 100 drops of essence blood. Most of the essence blood contained similar amounts of energy. Only the last drop, that extremely pure essence blood, gave him a very special feeling. It was completely different from the other essence blood. I'll absorb the 99 ordinary drops first, then the last essence, Lin Feng said softly. Without hesitation, very quickly, Lin Feng swallowed the first drop of essence blood. Refinement began. Inhale, Lin Feng's breathing calmed down. Once again, he absorbed the blood essence of the heavenly Wu shaman tribe. He had already made all the necessary preparations. The essence blood's energy was extremely violent, like a bone that was hard to chew. If it was an ordinary martial artist, this violent energy would have already rushed through their meridians, destroyed their cells, and devoured their organs. But to Lin Feng, it was an excellent supplement. 6 hours later, as expected, the body's growth is gradually decreasing. Lin Feng opened his eyes and thought to himself. When he absorbed the essence blood of the Tian Wu witch race, he spent 6 hours the first time, and his body's strength increased by 1%. This time, he also spent 6 hours, but his body's strength increased by less than 0.8%. The effect was reduced by more than 20%. This was enough to prove that his guess was not wrong. If that's the case, I'll start from the essence blood, which contains the least energy. This way, I'll be able to make the most of the essence blood's growth. Lin Feng pondered for a moment, then took a drop of the essence blood and swallowed it. Continue absorbing and refining. Life in the land of spirit Qi was very comfortable. Not to mention that Wing controlled thousands of winged insects to act as guards. Just the identity of the Gomeng which race here made it, so that no one dared to disturb them. The sorcerer tribe was the undisputed overlord of the Douling world. Even the ancient race had to give him some leeway, let alone ordinary humans. Strong astral power poured into his body. Under the astral treasure's amplification, Qin Shanqian's cultivation speed also soared. Especially in such a place filled with spiritual qi, one could perfectly tap into one's potential and increase one's cultivation speed to the maximum. Every few hours, Qin Shanqian would open his eyes and look at Lin Feng. Although they didn't communicate with each other, being able to cultivate with him and increase their strength together was also a little bit of happiness. It was as if they were no longer alone on the same path of cultivation. If only it could always be like this, Qin Shanqian thought to himself. Qin Shanqian's beautiful eyes flickered. However, she was extremely intelligent. She knew very well that this was just a beautiful wish. I have to work hard to keep up with Linda G's pace. Only in this way can I be with Linda Ge forever. Qin Shanqian nodded. He was very determined. Ever since she was young, she had never been so diligent and persistent in cultivation, but that didn't mean she couldn't do it. On the contrary, her talent was extremely outstanding. Otherwise, she wouldn't have reached the 3rd level of the Star Sea state at such a young age. After all, she was only 16 years old. Even if Linda Ge is willing to be with me forever, the lifespan of a Star Sea state warrior is only 2,000 years. At most, it won't exceed 3,000 years. Qin Shanqian's beautiful eyes glittered. But if I keep cultivating with Linda G's and my cultivation speed and the support of the Chamber of Commerce, it's very likely that we can break through to the Star-Lord state. By then, our lifespan will increase by more than 10 times. Qin Shanqian smiled. Bitterness first followed by sweetness, but it wasn't easy to really do it. Linda Ge is extremely obsessed with martial arts. I can't let him look down on me. Qin Shanqian pouted her cherry lips. Her eyes flashed with stubbornness. Qin Shanqian, will definitely become the woman who will accompany Linda Ge for the rest of his life. Qin Shanqian looked at Lin Feng with her beautiful eyes and smiled happily. Then, she closed her eyes. She began to cultivate again. The days of cultivation passed extremely quickly. It was like waking up from a dream. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Qin Shanqian pursed her lips with a serious expression. After continuous cultivation, she was slowly approaching the 4th level of the Star Sea state. Dense starlight gathered, making that beautiful face look even more like an immortal, as if she was above the common populace of the mortal world. As for Lin Feng, regardless of whether it was his level or star level, they didn't increase at all. However, his body strength had increased greatly. 24%, Lin Feng thought. Every drop of blood essence was refined and integrated into his body, strengthening his cells, bones, and skin. Every drop of blood essence was refined and integrated into his body, strengthening his cells, bones, and skin. In half a month, he had completely absorbed and refined 99 drops of essence blood from the Tianwu witch race. He had reached a higher level of enlightenment. Phew, Lin Feng let out a long breath and revealed a satisfied expression. Although the effect of absorbing and refining became weaker towards the end, the amount absorbed this time was there. Last time, I absorbed and refined it in the Wind Valley for 3 days and increased it by nearly 10%. Including this time, the increase is more than 34%. His body's strength increased by 13%. It didn't seem much, but one had to know that it wasn't an increase in strength that increased the body strength. It was an increase in basic value. With the increase in level, this basic value would become the most decisive parameter and affect the foundation of future strength. It was like the bottom of a building. The more solid it was, the higher the building could be built. There's one last drop left. Lin Feng took out the drop of essence blood with sparkling eyes. Holding it in his hand, he could feel the surge of energy. The drop of blood flickered with a greenish-yellow color, looking even more dazzling. This is essence energy. Lin Feng's eyes burned. Although he didn't know what this so-called essence energy was, it was obvious that it was of a higher level than essence blood. That star C level 9 Tian Wu, which race leader didn't have essence blood after death, only leaving behind this essence energy. It could be seen. I can also absorb and refine it. Lin Feng pondered and frowned slightly. Although he was hesitant, he had no other choice now. Determination flashed in his eyes, and Lin Feng swallowed it into his stomach in a split second. Wah! An abnormal surge of energy. Lin Feng's originally calm breathing suddenly became hurried, and his tightly shut eyes completely opened. His expression changed greatly. In an instant, his veins burst and his blood vessels protruded. His skin instantly became like tortoise scales, tight to the extreme, and his blood seemed to have stopped flowing. In an instant, there was a pong-pong-pong sound of explosions. Lin Feng's expression was horrified, and his body trembled violently. And this was only on the surface. The war in his body was even more intense. The power was crazily released. What was essence energy? When the witch race reached star C level 9, they would start to condense essence energy. Essence energy was a special existence. In a sense, it could be considered the soul of the witch race. Of course, in a true sense, essence energy was the evolution of essence blood. Condensing essence energy meant that this witch race member was extremely close to the Star Lord level. The energy contained was too terrifying. Mingren didn't lie to Lin Feng at that time. With his strength, absorbing the essence energy of the witch race was simply courting death. The body wasn't the ancient race's strong point. To absorb the essence energy, one had to have a medium that could withstand this shocking power. Could Lin Feng do it? The answer was no. The speed of cells dying was faster than the speed of recovery. The speed of skin destruction was faster than the speed of regeneration. Meridians shattered, bones fractured. Lin Feng was experiencing a true calamity. No, I can't lose. Clenching his teeth, bean-sized beads of sweat dripped down from Lin Feng's forehead. The pain this time far exceeded everything before. Every moment, his body's functions were being destroyed, and in an instant, his body's functions were being repaired. It was a cycle. The abnormal recovery ability of the body had instead become a form of torture for him. If it was an ordinary warrior, he would have fainted from the pain. Even though Lin Feng's willpower was extraordinary, his body was trembling, and his face was pale. What's going on? Qin Qianqian was so scared that her face turned pale. Bean-sized tears flowed down her face. She felt her legs go soft and her head explode. When she heard Lin Feng's faint moans, she thought she heard wrong. She didn't expect to see such a horrifying scene. Linda Ge, what's wrong with you, Linda Ge? Qin Qianqian's voice trembled without any strength. Looking at Lin Feng's pained expression, Qin Qianqian's heart felt like it was being stabbed, but there was nothing she could do. She couldn't touch Lin Feng. Even if the situation was like this, Qin Qianqian knew what she could and couldn't do. No matter how much her heart hurt, she could only endure. Tears kept falling, and Qin Qianqian cried like a person made of tears. Nothing can happen to him. Linda Ge, you must hold on. Nothing can happen to you. Qin Qianqian knelt in front of Lin Feng. She closed her eyes, trembled and cried, and put her palms together. At this moment, The only thing she could do was to pray for Lin Feng and hope that he could get through this difficult time. Maybe this was just a psychological comfort, but it was all her strength. Linda Gu, Qian will be with you forever. I support you. Even if you leave, Qian will go with you. I won't let you be alone. Tears from that beautiful cheeks kept falling, but there was no sound of crying. Qian used all her strength to clench her hands. She used all her strength to pray for Lin Feng. This was her strong belief. The broken body was like a broken city wall. No matter how much it was repaired, it couldn't keep up with the destruction of the profound qi. Lin Feng's aura was getting weaker and weaker. His skin was completely broken, and his flesh was badly mangled. His bones were completely eroded by the profound qi. His meridians were constantly broken and repaired. The most important thing was the cells. The human body was made up of countless cells. Every part of it was condensed by cells. Cells were constantly dividing, growing, strengthening, and advancing. But what would happen if the speed of cell division couldn't keep up with the speed of destruction? Death. Chapter 550. No matter how strong Lin Feng's willpower was, he could endure what he couldn't. The ending would still be the same. The pain didn't make Lin Feng faint. He held on until the end. His will was almost blurred, and his mind was completely blurred. But Lin Feng kept hearing a voice praying and crying for him. That was a kind of strength, a kind of faith that supported him to hold on. He couldn't give up. He couldn't fall. Even if there's only a glimmer of hope, I won't give up. Father, Xiao Duo, mother, brother, sister, Qian, they're all waiting for me. How can I die? How can I die? Lin Feng screamed crazily. A desperate situation could force a person to exert his greatest strength. Faith could make the impossible possible. Even create a miracle. Bang! His mind seemed to explode. Lin Feng's strong willpower and consciousness that he forcibly maintained had a great change. In front of him was no longer his broken body, but a vast and mighty starry sky. The stars were shining brightly, emitting endless light. But they were just supporting roles. A loud and clear cry resounded. It was a huge phoenix, like the king of the starry sky, full of nobility and arrogance. Huge wings, extremely beautiful feathers, and a pair of eyes that seemed to be able to see through everything. She dominated everything. Time seemed to stop. It was very short, but it felt as long as tens of millions of years. Boom! A thunderous noise. Bang! Lin Feng abruptly opened his eyes. A sharp light shot out of his eyes, which were filled with a brilliant light. There was an inexplicable force in his body. It was a familiar and powerful force that was far more powerful than the profound qi. He didn't know where it came from, but it existed, as if it was hidden in the depths of his heart, as if his potential was awakened. Swoosh! The profound qi was instantly controlled. The big fish ate the small fish, and the small fish ate the shrimp. The profound qi was like a naughty child that was caught. It didn't dare to be presumptuous anymore. In an instant, the mysterious power wrapped around the profound qi, emitting bright colors. In the blink of an eye, it changed. It seemed to have fused and transformed. The brutal aura of the profound qi disappeared without a trace. It was replaced by a warm energy, as if the violent tornado had suddenly turned into a beautiful spring breeze. The changes were huge. However, it was developing in a good direction. The power of the profound qi was like a fairy scattering flowers, spreading all over his body. Lin Feng felt an indescribable fear in his heart. But to his surprise, the power of the profound qi made a huge turnaround, as if it had turned over a new leaf. Not only did it no longer destroy any part of his body, but it also healed his body together with the blood of the phoenix, like fertilizers that nourish flowers. It felt rather strange, but the effect was quite good. My skin. Lin Feng was extremely shocked. The new skin was completely different from before. It was full of tenacity and strength. Not only was his recovery ability not weakened, but his strength, explosiveness, and toughness had all been greatly improved. It felt as if he had possessed the body of a shaman. I understand. It must have been fused with the power of the profound qi. Lin Feng was both happy and worried. He was happy that his body had benefited from this disaster. It seemed to have transformed and reached a higher level. He was worried that the power of the profound qi would have some side effects. For example, he did not know if his appearance would be similar to that of a shaman. If that happened, it would be quite troublesome. Great? That's great. Qin Xianxian's tears burst out again, but this time they were tears of joy. Seeing Lin Feng's skin gradually healing and his injuries slowly recovering, she was indescribably happy. Most importantly, Lin Feng's aura was slowly becoming stronger. She felt relieved. It's really great that you're fine. Qin Xianxian put her palms together and sincerely thanked him. As long as Lin De could recover safely, she was willing to pay any price. And this time, her prayers finally moved the heavens. Lin Feng did not know if his appearance would change, but the changes in his body were obvious and very effective. The rich power of the profound qi nourished every inch of his skin. Not only were his meridians repaired, but they were also greatly expanded. His bones were strong and his cells were more active. His body was full of power like that of shaman. Looking inside his body, Lin Feng could feel that he had completely transformed. It was a change from head to toe. He was a completely new person. The second time, the last time was when he fused with the blood of the phoenix. Misfortune may be a blessing in disguise. The power contained in the profound qi is really powerful. Lin Feng was amazed. In just a few hours, the situation had changed. It was unbelievable. The change of the profound qi had brought him a lot of benefits. Not to mention the complete transformation of his body. The rich energy alone was enough for him to absorb for a long time. Hiss, hiss, wisps of energy wandered to every corner of his body. Absorbing the profound qi peacefully, Lin Feng's injuries were completely healed. The only thing left was to keep strengthening himself. What was that powerful force that controlled the profound qi just now? The phoenix I saw should be the key. But where did it come from, and where did it go? Could it have something to do with my bloodline? Lin Feng was full of doubts, but he did not have an answer. But no matter what, it was an unchangeable fact that he had benefited from it. One day, when I'm strong enough, I will find the answer to this mystery. It was a very special power. The profound qi could not only strengthen his body, but it also contained abundant astral power. He could absorb it without any hindrance. Everything seemed to have been assimilated and fused with by the mysterious power. It turned into the power that his body could absorb. As time passed, the profound qi gradually weakened as he absorbed and refined it. The greenish-yellow color hidden in the deepest part of the profound qi became brighter and more transparent. A faint aura, which seemed to have an enchanting fragrance, entered his nose. It was a feeling, a power that could make one's heart and soul relax. So strange. Why does the profound qi have such power? Lin Feng wondered. This power was similar to the power contained in the celestial fruit. It was just that the power was too strong, far surpassing the best celestial fruit he had ever seen. So strange. But I don't care. Since he could not figure it out, why bother to think about it? In any case, once the profound qi was exhausted, the greenish-yellow color contained within would naturally break out of the cocoon. He would know when the time came. Day after day passed. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. For Qin Xianxian, every day was like torture. Although he knew that Lin Feng was fine and his injuries had all healed, but he was still worried. This was a kind of lingering fear, but also a kind of concern. At this time, Lin Feng had absorbed most of the profound qi. His body had been strengthened to a shocking level. Most importantly, the greenish-yellow color was completely transparent. As he refined and absorbed it, the thin surface could no longer block the greenish-yellow energy. In an instant, it poured out crazily. So rich. What kind of power is this? Lin Feng was shocked, and his heart was moved. He felt as if he had eaten countless celestial fruits and celestial herbs. His body was full of spirit qi and strength. He had endless energy. It's incompatible with a profound qi. This energy is purer, more essence and warmer. Lin Feng could clearly feel the greenish-yellow color. Although the energy was also huge, it was very docile, like a little wife, obedient and obedient. It fused into his cells and into every inch of his skin, causing his body, which was already saturated, to start absorbing again. It's pure spirit qi of heaven and earth. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. This was the same as most celestial fruits, but the density of the spirit qi was different. It was purer and more refined. After absorbing this pure spirit qi, my strength should increase very quickly. Lin Feng smiled faintly. In an instant, Emperor Shun's astral energy. Lin Feng's expression changed as a milky white aura circulated around his body. As he absorbed the extremely pure spirit qi of heaven and earth and turned it into energy that every part of his body could absorb, Lin Feng's strength increased by leaps and bounds. Lin Feng didn't know that this was the 9-star immortal fruit, mystery, that the Taowu race had been searching for but couldn't find. It was only 10 days away from sublimation. That day, the leader of the Tianwu Magi race knew that danger was approaching. He would rather waste a heavenly treasure than let it benefit him. That was why he helped Lin Feng. In fact, if this 9-star immortal fruit, mystery, really sublimated, Lin Feng wouldn't be able to absorb it with his current strength. Furthermore, it wouldn't be his turn. Unlike now, he had picked up a huge bargain for no reason. It took more than half a month. Phew! Lin Feng exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. As the last drop of energy was absorbed, he opened his eyes in an uproar. They were resplendent with a hint of joy. This time, it could be said that he had profited from a disaster. Although he had circled around the edge of the cliff and experienced a rather unforgettable experience, the result was still worth celebrating. Not only had his body completely transformed and evolved, becoming like the combination of the Magi race and the ancient race, but his strength had also increased by a large level. His star multiplicity had increased from 4 to 5. His strength had broken through from the 5th to the 6th star C level. It was a complete rebirth. His combat strength had increased by leaps and bounds. Including the previous improvements, just absorbing the essence blood of the Tianwu Magi race alone has increased my body's basic stats by about 60%, Lin Feng thought to himself. And if I include the transformation of my body by the essence blood, it's more than twice as much. Lin Feng was extremely surprised. His body was already abnormal enough after fusing with the phoenix blood. Now, it had reached a higher level. He was at the 6-star C level, but his body was comparable to a 9-star C level. Even compared to the Magi race, it wasn't inferior. Very good. Lin Feng was quite satisfied. At this moment, Hua, Qin Qianqian, who was cultivating, opened her eyes. The two of them looked at each other, filled with joy and longing. Lin did good. Qin Qianqian's tears fell like rain in an instant. She flew over and hugged Lin Feng tightly, as if she was afraid of losing him. Lin Feng stroked Qin Qianqian's hair and said softly, "I'm sorry to have made you worry." During his most difficult time, Qianqian had always supported him without leaving him. Her cries and prayers were still deeply entangled in his heart. That was his most precious treasure. It was rare to have a lover. Chapter 551. Fierce Yin Sect was a prosperous place in Yanling Prefecture. It was located south of Yanling Prefecture and ruled over 15 cities. Even the smallest city was much bigger than Green Smoke City. If the area ruled by Fierce Yin Sect was compared to a river, then Green Smoke City was not even a small stream. Every year, the number of newcomers who joined Fierce Yin Sect alone surpassed all the martial artists in Green Smoke City. In the Yanling Prefecture, Fierce Yin School was a well-deserved giant. It stood on equal footing with Yanling Prefecture and Chiyu Palace. Fierce Yin sect was located in the center of the 15 cities under its control. The place where the sect was located was vast and boundless. It was a huge plain with mountains, forests, and rivers, all of them in one place. It was rumored that this was a spiritual land where divine beasts once lived, so the spiritual energy was very rich. However, there was no way to verify whether it was true or not. In terms of area, it was 100 times bigger than Green Smoke City. As a matter of fact, Fierce Yin Gate was bigger than any of the 15 cities. However, the buildings of Fierce Yin sect were not outstanding. In fact, they were even simpler than Green Smoke City. Many of the disciples built their own wooden or stone houses as a place to live, but they were not picky. As a martial artist, a place of cultivation only needed to meet two conditions. It was quiet and quiet with dense spiritual energy, especially the latter, which was the most important. As for whether the residence was luxurious or beautiful, it did not matter. Fierce Yin sect was divided into inner and outer gates. The inner gates were the true elites and core of Fierce Yin sect. To hold a position in Fierce Yin sect, the first condition was to enter the inner gates. However, there were very few people in the inner gates, not even 1/10,000th of the outer gates. It was harder than ascending to heaven to enter. As for the outer and inner gates, they were divided into candidate disciples, ordinary disciples, beginner disciples, intermediate disciples, senior disciples, elite disciples, and so on. Every year, most of the disciples who entered the inner gates were selected from the elite disciples of the outer gates through layers of screening. In Fierce Yin sect, it was extremely difficult to advance step by step. It was even more difficult to become an inner disciple. There was only one way to enter the inner gates directly. There was a sea of people. Millions of young boys and girls gathered outside Fierce Yin sect. Mother, I will not let you down. Father, I will not embarrass you. Brother, this time we will join forces to enter the inner gates. Yes, brother. Today was a big day. A large number of young talents and up-and-coming talents from Yanling Prefecture had gathered there. This was the Li Yin School's Genius Selection Competition, which was held once every 5 years. Since the establishment of Fierce Yin School, they had maintained this ancient tradition of selecting geniuses from Yanling Prefecture. It had been a long time coming. The grand meeting was held once every 5 years on the date of the establishment of the Li Yin School. They were divided into 3 age groups from 6 to 10 years old, from 11 to 15 years old, and from 16 to 20 years old. The best 30 disciples from each age group would be selected, and 10 disciples from the age group of 1 to 5 years old would enter the Li Yin School. He would be able to directly pass through the many barriers of the outer sect and become a candidate disciple of the inner sect, or even an ordinary disciple. As for those who failed, they would enter the outer sect with the results of the Genius Selection Competition and become outer sect candidates or ordinary disciples. Of course, if he was confident, he could come back 5 years later. Oh no, why isn't he here yet? Sima, she was anxious. Don't worry, Master. Qian knows the importance of today. She should be able to bring Lin Feng back. Ji Xia smiled faintly, not panicking at all. He knew Qian's character very well. Although she was usually willful, she still knew what was important and what was not. However, Ji Xia didn't know that Qian had already lost her mind and followed the man she married. Today is the last day of the half-year period and also the most important day. Sima, she frowned and sighed softly. If we miss today, even if I accept Lin Feng as my disciple, I can't break the rules. If he wants to enter the inner sect, he will have to wait another 5 years. Ji Xia smiled confidently. Brother Lin is a man of his word. He won't break the promise. But, Sima, she sighed. The problem is that there is only an hour left before the Genius Selection Competition begins. One day was a long time. The Qin hour was also within the day, and the Z hour was also within the day. Just as Sima, she was feeling anxious and uneasy. Suddenly, a clamor came from outside. That tender voice was extremely familiar. Instantly, Sima, she, and Ji Xia looked at each other. their eyes filled with pleasant surprise and smiles that they hadn't seen in a long time. That was Qin Qianqian's voice. A good dog doesn't block the way. The voice kept coming from outside. There was even a series of crackling sounds, and a thick aura exploded, bringing with it screams of pain. Sima, she smiled bitterly, but Ji Xia's eyes lit up. You won't give up until all hope is gone. You want me to take action? Qin Qianqian's voice carried a hint of arrogance. She stepped through the door and saw Sima Shi and Ji Xia. She was very excited and happy. Master, senior brother, you finally came back. Sima, she smiled helplessly. Junior sister. Ji Xia nodded slightly, but her gaze fell on a familiar figure behind Qin Qianqian. Black clothes, a long spear sheath on his back, and an extraordinary temperament from his ordinary face. It was all too familiar. I've been waiting for you for a long time, Brother Lin. Ji Xia smiled. Senior, Brother Ji, hello. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. At this moment, there was a commotion outside the door. Many disciples in martial attire ran in panic. Many of them had bruises on their faces. It was obvious that they had suffered a lot. Seeing Sima Shi, they immediately knelt on one knee. Protect her, Sima, just now, I know. Sima Shi waved her hand and said indifferently, You can leave. Yes. The disciples immediately left. Looking at Lin Feng, Sima Shi smiled faintly. Sorry, Lin Feng. That was Fierce Yin sect's rule. You're not a disciple of Fierce Yin sect yet, so there are many places you can't enter as you wish. In fact, even if you become a disciple, you can't enter anywhere in Fierce Yin sect. I understand. Lin Feng nodded indifferently. Nothing can be accomplished without rules. Fierce Yin sect could stand tall in Yinling Prefecture because it had its own set of rules. But it didn't matter. Anyway, he didn't come to join Fierce Yin sect this time. Junior sister, your strength seems to have improved greatly in this half a year. Ji Xia's eyes flickered as he suddenly spoke. Qin Qianqian's strength just now surprised him. Of course. Qin Qianqian raised her chest proudly. I didn't slack off for a day. I'm already a star C grade level 4 now. Oh. Ji Xia and Sima Shi were surprised, especially Sima Shi. She looked at Qin Qianqian as if she was looking at a stranger. She said casually, When did my little disciple become so diligent? I really have to look at you with new eyes after 3 days. Master. Qin Qianqian blushed and said coquettishly. Her pretty eyes secretly glanced at Lin Feng. Seeing that the latter's expression didn't change, she let out a sigh of relief. How could such a small action escape Ji Xia's eyes? He smiled leisurely. It seems that your relationship with Brother Lin has improved greatly in this half a year. Qin Qianqian spat softly. Her pretty face immediately turned red. She thought that her relationship with Lin Feng had been seen through by Ji Xia. She bit her lips lightly, as if she had made up her mind, and said frankly, I'm already with Linda Ge. Pooh! Sima Shi, who had just picked up the teacup and drank a mouthful of tea, immediately spat it out. Ji Xia even widened his eyes, looking at Qin Qianqian and Lin Feng in disbelief. It was too unexpected. Yes, I'm already with Qianqian. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled as he stepped forward. Since Qianqian had already admitted it, how could he be timid and not dare to stand out? Since the day he had absorbed the profound qi, he had completely regarded Qianqian as his family, a part of his life. A good girl who had such deep feelings for him was definitely worth cherishing, protecting, and not letting any harm come to her. No matter who opposed, it wouldn't affect his decision. Gazing at Sima Shi and Ji Xia, Lin Feng's face was solemn, like a pine tree standing upright. Suddenly, good, very good. Sima Shi laughed heartily. I was afraid that Qianqian, this willful little girl, wouldn't be able to get married. Now I'm finally relieved. Yes, master. Ji Xia looked at Sima Shi and said happily, Junior sister used to be unruly and unruly. Look at her now. She's like a well-behaved little wife. Looking at Lin Feng, Ji Xia gave him a thumbs up. Brother Lin, you're really good. You solved our worries. Lin Feng was slightly startled. He thought that the two would oppose, but he didn't expect that. I worried too much. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. But it seems that Qianqian's reputation in Li Yin school isn't very good. Lin Feng chuckled, but didn't care too much. Qianqian was still young and came from a rich family. It was normal for her to be a little willful and unruly. At least she had changed a lot now. Master, senior brother. Qin Qianqian blushed, stamping her feet and complaining coquettishly. I hate you. Looking at Qin Qianqian's expression, not only Sima Shi and Ji Xia, but also Lin Feng suddenly laughed. It was rare for Qin Qianqian to show such an embarrassed expression. A joyful atmosphere enveloped the entire room, full of warmth and comfort. At this moment, a clear bell chime could be heard from outside. Look, I almost forgot. Sima Shi's eyes lit up, and he turned to look at Lin Feng. He nodded and said, "Let's go, Lin Feng. The genius selection is about to begin." Genius selection? Lin Feng was stunned, not understanding the reason. Sima Shi frowned and looked at Qin Qianqian. Qianqian, didn't you tell Lin Feng on the way here? Qin Qianqian bit her lips lightly and glanced at Lin Feng hesitantly. Oh, Lin Feng nodded thoughtfully, understanding in his heart. Just from the words and expressions of the crowd, one could roughly determine what this so-called genius selection competition was. Looking at Sima Shi, Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. Although he was a little hesitant, he had thought about it repeatedly along the way and had already made a decision in his heart. "I'm sorry, senior. I can't join Li Yin school," Lin Feng said slowly. Chapter 552. There was complete silence. Both Sima Shi and Ji Xia were stunned. Many people wanted to join Fierce Yin sect. Even if the chance of entering the inner sect was extremely small, they still refused to give up. Lin Feng, on the other hand, had such a good opportunity in front of him, but he was indifferent. Brother Lin, you... Ji Xia frowned and looked at Lin Feng. Seeing that Qin Qianqian's expression did not change, he understood in his heart. Obviously, Lin Feng had made this decision long ago, but this decision was really unexpected. In Ji Xiao's opinion, it was really too difficult to understand. "Brother Lin, could it be that you want to join Wild Yinling tribe or Qiyue Palace?" Ji Xia asked suspiciously. Lin Feng smiled faintly and shook his head. "Brother Ji, you misunderstood. I just don't want to join any sect for now." After hesitating slightly, Lin Feng did not tell him his plan. To him, joining Fierce Yin's sect now would not bring him much benefit. Sima Shi's eyes flickered, and he said slowly, "Sir, Qianqian, both of you go out first. I have something to talk to Lin Feng alone." Ji Xia and Qin Qianqian nodded and immediately pushed the door open and left. In an instant, only Sima Shi and Lin Feng were left in the huge room. Sima Shi sighed softly. "Actually, I shouldn't force you, but..." Looking at Lin Feng with burning eyes, Sima, she said regretfully, "Fierce Yin sect's genius selection is only held once every 5 years. Millions of wild Yinling mansions young talents will break their heads just to get 100 spots to enter the inner sect. Lin Feng, it's really a pity if you give up just like this." "I'm sorry, senior," Lin Feng said apologetically. From Sima Shi's tone, he could completely feel the sincerity. It was the kind of concern a senior had for a junior, and it came from the bottom of his heart. Sima Shi shook his head. "Before you came, I already pulled some strings for you and met the sect leader. If nothing unexpected happens, as long as you register for the competition, you'll definitely enter the inner sect." Looking at Lin Feng, Sima Shi's eyes flickered as he said slowly, "I, Sima Shi, am not very strong. I'm at the bottom of the protectors. If you don't want to become my disciple..." Sima Shi smiled and said, "I won't force you. On the contrary, I can introduce you to a more powerful master and bring out your potential." No, senior, you misunderstand," Lin Feng hurriedly said. "That's not what I meant." "Oh, that is..." Sima Ji was surprised. Frowning slightly, Lin Feng thought for a moment and said honestly, "To tell you the truth, it's not that I don't want to join Fierce Yin school. It's just that I need to raise a large sum of money in a short period of time. A large sum of money? Sima Qian was slightly confused. Qian Qian is not a stingy person. With your relationship with Qian Qian, that's not good. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. It wouldn't matter if it was a small sum, but what he needed was a truly large sum. Oh, Sima Ji said softly, how much do you need? Lin Feng smiled and stretched out one finger. 10,000 soul spirit coins? Or 100,000 soul spirit coins? Sima Ji smiled and said, I don't dare to say anything else, but I still have some money left. If you need it, Lin Feng. Seeing Lin Feng shake his head, Sima Ji frowned and said in surprise, could it be 1,000,000 soul spirit coins? Lin Feng smiled faintly. No, it's 10,000,000 soul spirit coins. Sima Ji gasped and widened his eyes in disbelief. Lin Feng, what do you need so much money for? Sima Ji's expression changed as soon as he said that. He apologized. I'm sorry, I misspoke. This was tantamount to invading someone's privacy, so he couldn't ask. It doesn't have to be 10,000,000 soul spirit coins. Lin Feng smiled. Sima Ji let out a sigh of relief and nodded. Lin Feng said again, but I still need 5 to 6 million soul spirit coins. As for the use, I hope you can forgive me. Sima Ji smiled bitterly. Although he was the chief blacksmith of Fierce Yin's sect, he didn't have that much money. Unless he sold everything he had, he might barely be able to get half of the money. What did Lin Feng want to do with so much money? He should have another purpose. Sima Ji thought in his heart, but he didn't force him. Although he was a little disappointed and felt that it was a pity for Fierce Yin's sect to lose a talent, he also understood that a forceful melon wouldn't be strong. All right then. Sima Ji looked at Lin Feng and smiled. I respect your decision. I hope you can earn 10,000,000 soul spirit coins as soon as possible. You are a guest. Lin Feng, if you have nothing to do, why don't you stay in Fierce Yin's sect for a while and let me do my duty as a host? Then I'll have to trouble you. Lin Feng smiled and said, this way, please. Sima Ji smiled and said. They walked out of the room. The two of them walked together, talking and laughing. These two little fellows. It's only been a short while, and they're gone. Sima Ji smiled helplessly. Qian Qian misses her senior brothers and sisters in the sect. Lin Feng nodded and said along the way she often talked about the interesting things she did in the sect. She was very happy. From Qian Qian, he roughly knew how life in Fierce Yin's sect was like. To be honest, it was very free. He basically had his own time, and it suited him very well. However, now, he had one less reason to join Fierce Yin's sect. Why? Sima Ji stroked his long beard. Yes, Qian Qian is my 9th disciple. Her senior brothers and sisters all dote on her and treat her like their own sister. As he spoke, Sima Ji looked at Lin Feng and smiled. I'll leave this little mischievous girl to you in the future. If you bully her, be careful that her 8 senior brothers and sisters will come looking for trouble. Lin Feng smiled and said, don't worry, senior. Greetings, guardian. Greetings, guardian Sima. Along the way, Fierce Yin's sect disciples could be seen everywhere. Every Fierce Yin sect disciple greeted Sima Ji respectfully. However, their eyes were filled with doubt and envy when they looked at Lin Feng. As the two of them walked away, the crowd whispered and discussed Lin Feng's identity enthusiastically. Hey, who do you think is the young man in black beside Guardian Sima? I'm sure that this young man is definitely not an inner sect disciple. However, if he was an outer sect disciple, it's impossible that he didn't even wear a martial robe. He's either rich or noble. He should be some family's young master. Otherwise, with Guardian Sima's status, he wouldn't have followed them. Yes, I think so too. There were many discussions. Curiosity was something that everyone had. However, Lin Feng didn't know that. He was having a good time chatting with Sima Ji. After all, Sima Ji was Fierce Yin's sect guardian. He was also proficient in refining weapons and had rich experience. He could learn many things that he didn't know before from him. Human martial artists can absorb the essence blood of the witch race. Sima Ji stroked his long beard and said seriously, "However, the evil aura is too strong. Not only do you need the help of immortal fruits or pills, the martial artists who absorb the essence blood should be stronger than the essence blood energy by a level." Lin Feng nodded to show that he understood. For example, the essence blood of a Star C level could only be absorbed by a Star Lord. Otherwise, it was very likely that one would explode and die. The ignorant are really fearless. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. He remembered that he didn't know anything back then and directly absorbed it. He was very lucky. If he knew this, he wouldn't have dared to absorb it. As for the essence energy, Sima Ji shook his head and smiled bitterly. As far as I know, those Star C level 11 and 12 experts who absorbed the essence energy were all devoured by the powerful energy and exploded to death. Their deaths were very tragic. Even I can't digest the phoenix blood. Indeed, the essence energy is too powerful. Lin Feng thought and felt lucky. If it wasn't for this mysterious power saving him, he probably would have been devoured by the essence energy. As for the divine beast blood, Sima Ji shook his head. Not to mention us human martial artists, even the ancient race with the divine beast bloodline can't withstand the true essence energy. They usually don't absorb 100% pure divine beast blood, but 50%, 30%, 10%, or even lower. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Then is there a chance that humans can absorb the divine beast blood? 0%. Absolutely impossible. Sima, she decisively rejected the idea and sighed. Perhaps we should wait until our strength surpasses that of a divine beast. At the very least, when our strength is weaker than a divine beast, we won't be able to withstand the true essence of this power. All his doubts were dispelled. At this moment, Lin Feng finally believed Jin Ren's words. Obviously, the strength of the owner of the drop of phoenix blood that he absorbed was far from what he could fathom. He must have the bloodline of the ancient tribe in his body, a branch of the ancient Feng race. I didn't think father and mother had it so hard. Lin Feng sighed. It was very difficult for humans and ancient race to marry each other. They must have been under a lot of pressure. But if I want to know what happened to father and mother, just knowing this is not enough. Lin Feng thought. Other than father and mother, the people who knew the most about what happened were most likely in the Lin clan. Ever since he came to the Douling world, he had always wanted to go to the Vermilion Bird Continent in the south. But it was easier said than done. Wait, Lin Feng's eyes lit up and he was shocked. Green Smoke City was just a small town in the Yanling Prefecture. Naturally, he didn't know how to get to the Vermilion Bird Continent. But the Fierce Yin sect was one of the top sects in the Yanling Prefecture. There must be a way. Senior, I want to ask, if I want to go to the Vermilion Bird Continent, is there a way? Lin Feng's eyes lit up and he asked urgently. The Vermilion Bird Continent in the southern region? Sima Ji looked at Lin Feng in surprise. Yes. Lin Feng clenched his fists. Looking at Lin Feng, Sima Ji's eyes flashed. He smiled and shook his head. In an instant, the hope that had just formed was dashed. Lin Feng let out a long sigh. Disappointment was written all over his face. But it was all for naught. He felt very helpless. The Vermilion Bird Continent is too far from here. It will take you tens of thousands of prefectures. Sima Ji's casual words made Lin Feng's eyes widen. Tens of thousands of prefectures? How far was the Yanling Prefecture? How long would it be to cross these tens of thousands of prefectures? It was hard to estimate. But Lin Feng, if you want to go to the Great Yin Continent, it won't be too difficult. Sima Ji smiled. Whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Sima Ji's words were like a lake that suddenly appeared in the desert. His heart was burning. Chapter 553. Great Flame Continent, Vermilion Bird Continent. They were both part of the 9 continents in the southern region. Wei Hai had said that the Great Flame Continent was the closest to Yanling Prefecture, and there seemed to be a teleportation array between the continents. As long as he could enter the Great Flame Continent, It meant that the Vermilion Bird Continent would be within reach. Senior, what do I have to do to enter the Great Flame Continent? Lin Feng's heart sped up. There are 3 ways. Sima, she smiled and stretched out 3 fingers. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. There was more than one way. No wonder Senior Sima said that it was not difficult to enter the Great Flame Continent. The first way is the simplest and most direct way. It's what most warriors in Yanling Prefecture use. Sima Shi's eyes lit up as he said slowly, "Cross the Earth region and enter the Great Flame Continent." Warriors below the Star River level become citizens of the Limestone level, while Star Sea level warriors become citizens of the Rough Iron level. Oh, isn't it dangerous? Lin Feng asked curiously. How can it not be dangerous? Sima, she smiled. The journey is long and time-consuming. More than 80% of the warriors will die on the way. That many. Lin Feng frowned. Then why don't they form a team of 10 or 100 people and go together? Sima, she smiled faintly. Unless they break through the Star Lord level, who dares to go alone? However, so what if there are more people? If they encounter a sorcerer tribe, there will be at least a few dozen people and at most tens of thousands. How can they fight? After all, there are very few sorcerer tribe members with good tempers. Even so, there are still tens of thousands of warriors who go there every year. Lin Feng was puzzled. Since it's so dangerous, why don't they choose to stay in Yanling Prefecture? Sima, she laughed. How safe is Yanling Prefecture? Not to mention whether there will be a civil war, just the sorcerer tribe is like a thorn in the side. They might be swallowed one day. However, the 9 prefectures are different. The 9 prefectures are the territory of humans. They are completely in charge. There are no sorcerer tribe members. As he spoke, Sima Shi's eyes lit up with yearning. Lin Feng nodded, but he understood. To the warriors living in Yanling Prefecture, the sorcerer tribe was a mark that could never be erased. Besides, Sima, she paused and said slowly, it's extremely difficult to break through to the Cosmic Lord level in the Yanling Prefecture, but Cosmic Lords are everywhere in the 9 states. There are even quite a few Cosmic Realm levels. As a martial artist, how can I be willing to be trapped in a place with no fish balls for the rest of my life? A mediocre life. Sima Shi's words were like the ringing of a bell. Lin Feng sighed again and again. Indeed, since one had embarked on the path of a martial artist, the word regret no longer existed. One could only walk the path to the end. How could he be worthy of being a man if he cowered? When my strength reaches a level where I don't fear any Star Ocean level sorcerer race, I can also try this path. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Sima Shi's words had undoubtedly ignited his hope. Perhaps it was extremely dangerous, but it was not necessarily a bad idea. Looking at Lin Feng, as if reading his thoughts, Sima, she said casually, any inner sect disciple of the Fierce Yin sect can leave the Great Yin continent at any time as long as they pass the advanced test. In fact, every year, a 100-man team of inner sect disciples from the Fierce Yin sect will travel together. Compared to other warrior teams, the probability of safely reaching the Great Yin continent is more than 50%. A heart-strengthening needle. Lin Feng was slightly stunned, but then he smiled. Sima Shi's words were indeed tempting, but to him, it was either not going or going. He had to be alone. He did not like to travel with others. Senior, what about the second method? Lin Feng continued. The second method is very simple. Sima Shi smiled. Every 10 years, the Star Lord level experts of the Fierce Yin sect will come to bring people. Any inner sect elite disciple of the Fierce Yin sect can enter the Great Yin continent with them after paying a travel fee of 100,000 Doling coins. The risk is extremely low. A Star Lord level expert leading the way. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The risk was definitely less than 10%. As far as he knew, 99% of the sorcerer tribe in the Yanling Prefecture were below the Star Lord level. Maybe the sorcerer tribe was stronger than humans of the same level, but the difference between the Star Sea level and the Star Lord level was like heaven and earth. The sorcerer tribe would not be stupid enough to attack a Star Lord level human warrior. But It was extremely difficult to become an intersect elite disciple of the fierce yin sect. Even though she had only mentioned it briefly, he knew a lot from thousands of places. There were 5 levels for intersect martial artists of the fierce yin sect to rise from the candidate level to the elite level. Each level was extremely difficult. Since the establishment of the fierce yin sect, there had never been an intersect martial artist who rose to the elite level in 10 years. The fastest one took a total of 11 years. Lin Feng smiled bitterly and shook his head. This method was very important to the other intersect disciples of the fierce yin sect. But to him, it was not as simple as the first method. What's the third method, senior? Lin Feng asked with a smile. No matter if it worked or not, no matter if the probability was high, it was better to listen than not. Maybe it was an opportunity. Choosing one more option. The third method. She stroked his beard and said slowly, "It's the simplest but also the most difficult one. As long as you get 10 million points in the Yinling Prefecture, you can exchange them for rewards and enter the Great Yin Continent." His voice was calm, but it was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. In an instant, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. "I'd like to hear the details," Lin Feng said seriously. She nodded. The Yinling Prefecture is the most special place in the Yinling Prefecture. There are endless secrets there. In fact, no matter which prefecture was built, there must be a certain amount of coincidence and inevitability. Back then, the Yinling clan saw the preciousness of the Yinling Prefecture and built it. Lin Feng was tempted. "Lin Feng, you've been to the Green Smoke Mystery Land, right?" She smiled faintly. "Yes, senior," Lin Feng replied. "How do you feel?" She smiled. Lin Feng's face turned solemn, and he nodded. "It's very helpful to improve my strength." She smiled. "But compared to the Yinling Prefecture, it's nothing. The Yinling Prefecture is the symbol of the Yinling Prefecture. It's the soul." Back then, the Yinling clan gathered all the power and refused to give up the Yinling Prefecture. In the end, because of the distribution of the identity tokens, they were torn apart and ended up in this situation. Distribution of the identity tokens? Lin Feng was surprised. He had one of the identity tokens of the Yinling Prefecture, which was given to him by Ji Xia. Yes, a total of 3,000 identity tokens, she said. So many. Lin Feng was shocked. Back then, in the Green Smoke City, only the champion of the elite martial competition had one. There were only 2 of them. But now, many? She smiled bitterly and shook his head. There are hundreds of cities in the Yinling Prefecture, big and small, fighting over it. That's true. Lin Feng understood. Although there were many identity tokens, there were more people in the Yinling Prefecture. There were too many monks and too little porridge. The Yinling clan got 500 tokens, the Fierce Yin sect got 400 tokens, and the Chiyue Palace got 380 tokens. She said slowly. She said slowly. Just our 3 forces alone control nearly half of the identity tokens. How much can the other forces obtain? The Fierce Yin sect is indeed a big force in Pang Ran, Lin Feng thought. There are almost 1,000 sects in the Green Smoke City, but they only managed to get 2 identity tokens after risking their lives. As for the Fierce Yin sect, they had a total of 450 tokens. How shocking. As if he could read Lin Feng's mind, Shi's eyes flickered. He shook his head and said, "Don't think that 450 tokens are a lot. The Fierce Yin sect has more disciples. Every age group tries their best, and only the top 20 can get one. I have 9 disciples, and only 3 of them got one 2 years ago." Lin Feng frowned. Indeed, his thoughts were still stuck in the Green Smoke City. He had forgotten that this was the top Fierce Yin sect in the Yinling Prefecture. The number of new disciples that joined each year was more than all the sects in the Green Smoke City. The competition was naturally fierce. Senior, Brother Ji, Lin Feng was suddenly curious. He entered the top 10, but lost in the top 5. He was around the 8th or 9th place 2 years ago. Shi's eyes flickered. At that time, He was still in his peak condition. Unfortunately, there were too many experts in Fierce Yin School. Xiao lost miserably in the top 5. I think Qian must have told you about this, right? Yes. Lin Feng nodded seriously. According to Qian, Ji Xiao lost to Golden Cicada, who was ranked 4th. He was seriously injured, and even his indigo light pupil was destroyed. His strength was greatly reduced, and he was less than 30% of his peak. This directly led to his failure in the Yanling Prefecture. After that, he lost his confidence and traveled with Sima Shi. In the Yanling Prefecture, as long as you have enough points, you can exchange for countless rewards, Sima Shi said slowly. However, it's not easy to get points. Apart from strength, you also need a bit of luck. Anyway, it's not easy to get 10 million points. Lin Feng replied softly. He had already guessed this. In the past 100 years, the most points that the disciples of the Fierce Yin sect can get in one go is 1.78 million. Sima Shi said seriously. In the entire Yanling Prefecture, according to the records, the holder of the highest points in one go is Wan Macho, the current leader of the Yanling clan, with 4.75 million points. These records are all recorded in the Yanling Prefecture. Wan Macho, Lin Feng muttered softly, his eyes flickering. If others could do it, then he could do it too. Wait. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly brightened. Senior, may I ask what does one go mean? Sima, she smiled faintly. You can enter the Yanling Prefecture once a year, and the points can be accumulated. For example, the strongest person in the same generation as Xia, Ji Xiao, killed his opponent in an instant in a battle with Golden Cicada 2 years ago. Currently, the Yanling Prefecture has accumulated nearly 10 million points. Points could be accumulated. Lin Feng's chest heaved up and down. He was excited and hopeful. Perhaps this was an extremely difficult path for others, but for him, it was the most feasible path for now. The path in front of him suddenly became clear. Added, there are 2 more chapters. Everyone, please forgive me. Xiao will try to finish writing the traditional ending as soon as possible. Chapter 554. Each of the 3 methods had its pros and cons. The first method was risky and time-consuming. The advantage was that it was the least restrictive and could be used at any time. The second method was the safest, but it would take at least 8 to 10 years to become an intersect elite disciple of Fierce Yin sect. According to Qian, if a disciple of Fierce Yin sect wanted to be promoted, strength was indispensable. However, loyalty and contribution to the sect were the most important. If he followed the second method, he would have to waste a lot of time to increase his contribution to the sect. The third method was the purest and simplest. However, it was also dangerous. Every year, the death rate in Wild Yinling Mansion was about 20%. Although it wasn't considered high, it wasn't a simple number to accumulate over the years. Maybe he could avoid it once or twice, but so what if it was 10 or 20 times? However, there was nothing perfect in the world. To gain, there was naturally a price to pay. Phew, Lin Feng let out a long breath and stood still. He heard all kinds of bustling noises. The genius selection was about to begin. Outside Fierce Yin's sect, the participating martial artists were all rubbing their palms, ready to show their skills. It took 5 years to sharpen one sword. However, Lin Feng was extremely calm. Looking up at the sky, Lin Feng's eyes were clear, as if he was thinking about something. What's wrong? Sima, she saw Lin Feng stop and asked with a sly look in his eyes, What's wrong? Lin Feng looked at Sima Shi. When he saw that seemingly smiling face, Lin Feng laughed in a carefree manner. The older the ginger, the spicier it is. You have one. To be honest, I am tempted and I am willing to join Fierce Yin sect. Every sentence was related to Fierce Yin sect. How could he not know Sima Shi's intention? However, Sima Shi's words had hit his weak spot, his weak point. He was not against joining Fierce Yin sect. All along, it was just that. He lacked a reason. Now, the reason had appeared. Leaving Wild Yinling Mansion and heading to Great Yin Continent had always been his goal. There is no winning or losing. Sima Shi smiled faintly. No matter if it is for you or fierce yin sect, it is a win-win situation. Lin Feng smiled. He understood what Sima Shi meant. For Lian school. So what if they could get more from Yinling Prefecture? Back then, even the powerful Yinling clan was in tatters, with only a single branch remaining. Even if the civil war did not break out, the existence of the mansion was just a flash in the pan. Sooner or later, it would be destroyed by the wizard tribe. Only the continent was the true home of the human race. Therefore, the fierce Yin sect encouraged their disciples to go to the Great Flame Continent. They even sent Star Lords to pick them up. The fee was just a small token of appreciation. More importantly, they had to be elite inner sect disciples to pick them up. What was an elite inner sect disciple? It meant that not only were they strong, but they were also truly loyal to the sect. Let's go. There should still be time to register. Sima Shi smiled. All right. Lin Feng smiled calmly. Since he was already here, he might as well make the best of it. Following Sima Xian, Lin Feng soon arrived at a crowded place. In fact, they didn't walk for long at all. It was as if they were walking along this road, and it was quite convenient. Senior is indeed a senior. You've already set a trap for me. Lin Feng smiled helplessly. Sima, she was retreating in order to advance. He was very confident in persuading him to join the Fierce Yin sect. Obviously, there were more than 3 ways to enter the Great Flame Continent. He must have specifically picked these 3 ways to tempt him. That's not the case. Sima, she put his hands behind his back and said casually, "It's just along the way. After all, I'm one of the protectors, and I'm also part of the genius election." Is that so? Lin Feng smiled calmly, but he didn't care about this small detail. Whether it was intentional or not, to him, the process wasn't important. It was that he had a reason to join the Fierce Yin sect. It wasn't necessarily a bad thing. There are so many people participating in the selection. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. Looking around, it was a sea of people. Other than people, he couldn't see anything else. This scene was extremely shocking. There were strong and weak auras. Here, star river levels were as common as commoners. Star sea levels could be sensed everywhere. There were at least hundreds of thousands of them. Crazy. As expected of the Fierce Yin sect, even a newcomer has such strength. Lin Feng sighed softly. Compared to the real boss of the Yinling Prefecture, the Fierce Yin sect, the Green Smoke City, was on a completely different level. Most importantly, the participants here were all young men and women. All of them were below the age of 20. They had unlimited potential. Come and register. Sima, she waved his hand. Okay. Lin Feng smiled calmly. What did you say? Sima Shi's eyes turned cold. This. Protector Sima, it's true that it's already past the registration time. A short man in the Fierce Yin sect uniform said with fear in his eyes. Isn't there still half an hour before the selection starts? Sima, she's face darkened. Yes. The Fierce Yin sect disciple stammered and said with a trembling voice, but the registration deadline is 15 minutes before the selection starts. Don't give me that. Sima Shi's eyes instantly turned cold. He stared at the Fierce Yin sect disciple and asked, "Who is in charge of this place?" His voice was firm. Sima, she held a high position in the Fierce Yin sect. His aura was indeed shocking. The short man was so frightened that he fell to the ground. His face was filled with fear. Looking at the situation, Lin Feng sighed softly. However, it was also destined. There was no need to force it. He was about to persuade Sima Shi. Suddenly, "Why are you making things difficult for me, Protector Sima?" The voice sounded desolate. An eagle-eyed man in a martial uniform strode over. He held 3 steel balls in his hand. There was a faint smile on his face. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He felt the pressure of the eagle-eyed man's aura. Seeing the eagle-eyed man arrive, the short man who was sitting on the ground looked as if he had seen his savior. He quickly got up and hid behind him. "Protector Han, are you in charge of this place?" Sima Shi's eyes flashed. So what if I am? So what if I am not? Han Lu smiled faintly. He spun the steel balls in his hand, making the sound of metal rubbing against each other. You are bullying the weak. Protector Seema, if this were to spread, it would damage your reputation, right? Seema Shi's eyes sparkled. Protector Han, you seem to be prepared? Seeing the two of them confronting each other, Lin Feng was deep in thought. This eagle-eyed man was obviously one of the protectors. Judging from his conversation with Senior Seema, the two of them did not seem to be on good terms. The strangest thing was the timing of this eagle-eyed man's appearance. It was too coincidental. Ha! Han Lu laughed. Protector Seema, what are you talking about? I am in charge of the registration for the competition. Naturally, I will do my best. I dare not be careless. Han Lu clapped his hands, and an innocent expression flashed across his face. Rules are rules. Of course, you can't register after the time limit. Am I right, everyone? Of course. Of course. If you don't follow the rules, what rules are there? Whispers could be heard. Although they were not loud, they could be heard clearly. Seema Shi's expression changed slightly, and his eyes turned cold. He was not afraid of Han Lu. However, if he were to fight now, it would damage the reputation of the sect. This was not what he wanted. At this moment, Protector Han, you seem to be mistaken about something? Lin Feng stepped forward calmly with a faint smile. In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on him. Han Lu's eagle-eyed eyes were even sharper. He said coldly, Who do you think you are? Protector Seema and I are talking. Who are you to interrupt? A wild aura was released. Han Lu's aura was extremely terrifying and suffocating. However, Lin Feng's expression did not change at all. What a foul mouth. So the protector of Fierce Yin's sect is of such quality? As soon as he said that, whispers could be heard from the surroundings. Han Lu's face turned green. If anyone dared to speak to him like that, they would not know how they died. However, in front of everyone, he could not say or do anything inappropriate. Otherwise, it would affect the sect's reputation and the consequences would be severe. I have made it very clear just now. Rules are rules. The registration period is over. It's useless for anyone to intercede. Han Lu snorted and said disdainfully, Don't think that you can get in through the back door just because you are friends with Protector Seema. Please leave. Lin Feng smiled. Protector Han, don't you understand? Didn't I just say that you were mistaken about something? What? Han Lu frowned. Lin Feng shrugged. I am not here to participate in the genius election. As soon as he said that, everyone was stunned. Even Han Lu was puzzled. He asked, Then why did you sign up? Lin Feng blinked and smiled. To join the outer sect and become a candidate disciple. As soon as he said that, everyone was stunned. Joining the outer sect as a candidate disciple with the strength of star sea level? Was this a joke? Even if one did not participate in the genius election, Fierce Yin sect had a special disciple recruitment event every year. With the strength of star sea level, one would at least be a beginner outer sect disciple. Joining as a candidate disciple was like letting an adult enter a school to study. It was too strange. Han Lu's face turned green and white. He had embarrassed himself in front of everyone and felt that he had lost all face. However, what Lin Feng said was reasonable. He could not refute it at all. Gritting his teeth, Han Lu's eyes flashed with a cold light. Good. He said good 3 times in a row, revealing the suppressed anger in Han Lu's heart. His hatred for Lin Feng deepened. But Lin Feng did not care at all. He smiled and said, Protector Han, may I ask if I could sign up now? Waves of satisfied laughter sounded around. When it fell into Han Lu's ears, it was like sharp needles piercing into his heart. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. He clenched his fists tightly. The 3 steel balls had already been crushed into powder. Han Lu shouted angrily, Luin! Yes. The short man behind Han Lu answered in fear. Sign him up. The words seemed to seep out from between his teeth. Han Lu gritted his teeth and snorted angrily. He glared at Lin Feng furiously. Like a vicious wolf, Han Lu immediately flicked his sleeves and left. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.